Are you tired of being so confused? You feel like you're more fucked up than the lies on the evening news. Well, just step right in. We can talk about it all as friends. And if you want, we can hug and kiss and make up for the party ends. Agree or disagree, stop offering me. 'Cause I'm everything you want, damn sure what you need. I won't tell no lies, back up on the facts with truth. And if you can't get down with that, you must be somebody's dude.
Jessica just texted me and says, Matt, that is the coolest song and intro I've ever seen from any show I've ever done in 23 years. We agree, Jessica. Thank you for saying that. We appreciate it. It's so nice of you.
What's up, everybody? It's Ryan Weaver. I am on the Don't Unfriend Me show, otherwise known as The Dumb Show, with host Matt Spear. You guys can find the show at The Dumb Show on social media or thedumbshow.com.
Adjusting transmitter output.
This is the Don't Unfriend Me show with your hosts, Matt, Leeroy, Amy, and Olivia. Geopolitics, military analysis, and election coverage. Coming to you live on all major social media channels at The Dumb Show. Honest, direct, unfiltered. We can agree, we can disagree. Just don't unfriend me.
What is going on, everybody? I apologize, but Brian Cook and Scott Lloyd have already been on the show, so if you're here for them, too bad. Sorry, that was last week. But we do have an amazing guest, and she has a star right next to her name, and that's because it means she's super duper special, along with Damani Felder, who will be here on April 3rd, and then the older millennial on Monday, Jessica Lynch. Now, I have a little honest thing to talk about here. There was 3 people in my life that I wanted to meet. And it's interesting because when I did the photographs with Barry Morgenstein, the first person came up and we were talking about Oliver North. And I said, I want to meet Ollie North. And Barry's like, I haven't met Ollie North. And I said, well, he lives like right up the road, but I don't want to knock on his door. So I've been trying to get hold of his PR people and stuff like that. But I want to meet him in this type of setting and do a podcast. Now, I've met him at dinners and breakfasts and things like that. And, you know, he goes to the same restaurants that I go to, but that's not the same thing. The second person was Chris Tonto Peranto. And it was interesting because we're here with Barry and he's like, he picks up the phone and starts texting Chris while we're sitting in the chair doing makeup. And the next person was Jessica Lynch. And I didn't have a chance to tell Barry. And the reason why is there's just 3 military people who I was really enamored with. Ollie North when I was younger, Chris Tonto when I started reading and watching 13 Hours, and then Jessica Lynch because of the I don't know, call it chivalry, call it, you know, men. We care about women, and I heard the story and it broke my heart and I was upset and I was mad, and like most people who join in the military, there's a reason. And although it was after my service, I felt a connection. So Jessica, that's a whole lot of responsibility for you. So welcome to the Don't Unfriend Me show. And it's good to have you.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I know Barry and Chris and Ryan very well.
Yeah, all good dudes. To let you all know real quick, just some housekeeping donations. We don't do donations when we have guests on, but they are coming in. I can already see them, and thank you so much for that. We'll collect those later, but right now this is about Jessica. It's not about that. Jessica, this is 23 years, and I know you are doing these interviews, and every time the anniversary comes up, I'm sure your phone rings and you get a lot of time. And I wanted to say thank you for being here, first of all, because tomorrow, is it tomorrow or is it April 3rd, will be 23 years since the rescue, and we're already past since when you were a POW. Is that correct?
Yes, correct. So March 23rd, and then tomorrow will be the anniversary of the rescue.
Okay. Well, Leeroy and I talked before, and I
Happy
think we've
birthday.
seen. Yeah, happy freedom. I mean, I guess that's really what it comes down to. Leeroy and I were talking about. We've seen a lot of your interviews, and one of the things that we always hear is, tell us about that day, and and of course we want to do that, but I help and have worked with thousands of veterans with PTS. I know Leeroy, it's a big concern for him too, and we want to talk about life after the service, life after this event, and as well. So if we could just spend a few minutes, would love to kind of hear about you, your story, where you're at now, and that day. Maybe talk a little bit about it, and we can dive in a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, yeah, thank you so much. It has been 23 years, which to me is just absolutely crazy because, you know, it feels like yesterday, but in another sense, it feels like a lifetime ago. So sometimes I have to remind myself that I actually survived that. Like
Yeah.
I was the one who went through that. Because again, certain days, it's a constant reminder. So I should say that, like, it is a constant reminder, but it has been 23 years, so there's ways that I've been able to handle it and control it so that I don't have major flare-ups. But at the same time, it's been a very blessed, I guess, 23 years that I've been able to come back home.
So welcome home, by the way. And, something I always try to do when I see someone who served in Vietnam is they didn't get it enough. And then obviously it was a different war when Iraq and Afghanistan, and the yellow ribbons were around the tree, and it was just a very different situation. But your story is so unique because I think a lot of people get caught up into the press and the narrative, and we want to celebrate and we want to live vicariously through you. A lot of civilians do because they don't understand what the conflicts look like. They don't understand the turmoils and don't understand that home sometimes looks like the battleground and the battleground looks like home. So you're over there, you're a private. You don't have SEER training. You're not special forces trained. You don't have any type of combat minus basic and whatever you did in your A school. So you're over there. You're in this convoy. It takes a wrong turn. Was this supply? Was this recon? What were you doing in this situation?
No, so I was. I'm 92 Yankees, so I was supply. So everyone, like when the first, I guess, initial reports came out, the fabricated stories did say that we were a supply unit. We were not. I was with a maintenance unit out of Fort Bliss, El Paso, Texas, and we were attached to, or I guess we were ADA, so Air Defense Artillery.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, that was I mean, basically when it all first started, yeah, we didn't, I don't know, I guess we really weren't for sure what to expect because for the large majority of my unit, this was the very first deployment for, like I said, like probably 90% of the company was the very first time any of us had seen any kind of, deployment overseas, anything like that. So, yeah, we just didn't know what to expect. We got over to Kuwait in February and just was kind of waiting for that moment that President Bush sent us across the border. And yeah, from that moment, so I guess it is important to note though too that our first sergeant as well as our commander were both taken away from us while we were in Kuwait. So we were given a new commander, a new first sergeant, so kind of a chain of command.
Right.
The commander we kind of knew because he was our second lieutenant, so he stepped up. But the first sergeant, we didn't know him, very well at all. Just the little bit of run-ins that you would kind of see him out and about, at formation or whatnot in Kuwait. But
Was he in country for a while? Was it multiple deployments, I'm sure, with that rank. But had he been in Kuwait? Had he been in the sandbox, or was this kind of a new thing for him as well?
you know what, I'm going to be honest, I don't really know.
Okay.
I know he was over there when we were in February, but at what point he got over there, I really don't know. Again,
Okay.
he wasn't with us. He didn't deploy from Texas with us. So yeah, I mean, it was kind of a crap moment
Right.
from the very get go.
Right.
A lot
But yeah,
Snafu. Go ahead, Leeroy.
a lot of times what you'll run into is when a senior enlisted leader when they first get assigned to a fresh unit, sometimes they go into observation mode
Right.
because they're trying to take in who is who and what is everyone's role. And so sometimes they can be a little apprehensive in introducing themselves to everybody, depending on how, outgoing or assertive they are. So I get that kind of perspective, but it doesn't make for a good, scenario for a mission.
Spoken like a senior enlisted guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's
Well,
that.
I mean, for most of us, again, we were very young.
Yeah.
We had a lot of 18, 19, 20-year-olds or early 20s. And again, we were nervous. We didn't know what to expect. We didn't know, how to really go about it other than what we were, being told to do. But
Right.
yeah, I mean, I think there was a little bit of that nervousness from him, from us, from, from all angles. But yeah, I mean, once we got over into Kuwait, it kind of was like, okay, I mean, we're with our unit. Kind of the nerves were still there, obviously, but you're like, okay, you're with the rest of your unit. You just feel like, okay, I'm safe because you're with these people that you've been training with for, a year or so.
Where were you in Kuwait?
Sure.
That is the answer I get. Everyone can see Iraq. They can tell you what parallel they were on, but in Kuwait, it's like, yeah, we stopped there.
I mean,
we hopped and then we left.
Something different.
Right. It's okay. What's your third
A lot of
standing
times
order?
that stuff happens so fast that you're like, I don't even know what zip code I just came from or where I'm headed.
Right,
a lot of times
right,
things
right.
happen that fast.
Yeah, or you're hopping in and then you're getting on a truck, or wherever you're getting picked up and you're put somewhere else. So I'm not going to ask you what your third standing order is, Jessica. Don't worry about it. We're not going to do that. So you're on why? So you're going to Nasiriyah. Why? What was there that morning? What was the operation? You were in the area. You weren't going there. You made a wrong turn, I guess. So walk us through that.
Yes, correct. Yeah, so no, that was not our mission. That was not where we were supposed to be headed. So when we left Kuwait, we were, in this massive convoy. And, basically we were all just told to follow each other, because that's what you do to kind of cross over. You stay together.
Mm-hmm.
But at one point, my unit started to kind of slowly fall behind. And that is when my commander, first sergeant, made that decision that he was going to split us up. So he kept 31 of us in 16 vehicles behind and pushed the rest of the unit on with the larger convoy. So the 16 vehicles, which then ended up being actual 17 vehicles because we ended up picking up 2 other guys from a different unit. So 33 of us and 17 vehicles got basically separated from the rest of the unit. We were left behind. And really at that point, we had no idea where we were at, what we were doing. Our bases to our GPSs, our handheld radios, all of that. I think when the initial, or I guess like the final report came out, that we were like 19 hours or some gigantic, enormous amount of time behind the rest of that convoy. And
wow.
that's for the fact that, we had no idea where we were at. We kept kind of getting ourselves in circles instead of going straight. I mean, when you're out there in the desert and no roads, no
Right.
guidelines.
Right. There's no
Yeah,
landmark
no
to speak of.
signs, nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we just spent the majority of the time kind of lost, to be honest with you. And by the morning of March 23rd is kind of when we thought we had found the rest of that convoy and finally found Hardtop Road, but it ended up being, the city lights, because it was very early in the morning when we kind of made another wrong turn into the city of Nazaria. So
Now,
it was just mistakes.
Go ahead, Leeroy.
Captain King, if I'm correct, right? Was he
Correct.
the commander of the first kind of portion of the convoy or the second?
Okay, so technically, he stayed with us in the second. So the first sergeant, as well as Captain King, stayed with the second group, the
Okay.
lost group. Yeah. So we did have the first sergeant, we did have the commander with us, but unfortunately, just again, little mistakes kept getting made, and instead of turning one way, which would have been the right direction, we made another wrong turn and ended ourselves up in the town of Nazaria.
What did comms look like at this point? I mean, was there any type of communication with command with like, hey, guys, this is FUBAR. We have no idea where we are. We don't know what's going on. Or was there this like, hey, let's just keep trekking where we're going. We're going to get there eventually. But was there any communication with command?
We didn't really have communication because we kind of lost lost communication with
Right.
everything.
Yeah.
But we had a little bit between each vehicle that we were there with, so like we could. I was at the point of the ambush. I was in the rear of the Humvee of First Sergeant Dowdy's
Okay,
vehicle.
got it. And this
Yeah.
is very different than today's military, right? So Jessica's in Leeroy and I's time, but Leeroy's still in. But during this time, there was no ISR, there was no communications, there was no cell phones. It was a different world. It was a different time. And, these things take place. And if you take a look at Iraq and you look at the friendly fires and how many times that happened, a lot of it depended upon a lack of communication, which is why post 2007, 2009, and especially in Afghanistan, you saw an upwards trend of how do we communicate with the field? How do we communicate with combatants? How do we radio things in effectively? Wouldn't that have been nice to have that? So you're outside of Nazaria, you've taken the wrong turn, and you're in an ambush. Walk us through the events to the best of your recollection, if you would not mind, just so we can kind of get an idea of what happened next.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, we stopped kind of to regroup once we got into the very beginning of the city. At that point, we could see a small white pickup truck, and he kept passing us. And eventually, we found out that he was kind of doing the intel work of how many people were in each vehicle, what kind of weapons he saw us with, anything like that. And he was relaying it back to kind of the center of town where we would eventually end up getting ambushed. So. At that point, when we were at the very beginning, the commander, the first sergeant, made the decision. Let's go ahead. Let's roll through, and we did. We got to a point where he was like, "Nope, let's let's turn around. Let's get back out of the city." But by that point, it was
Too late.
too late. Yeah, I mean, again, it was very early in the morning, so I guess our hopes was that we could kind of slide on out without being noticed.
Right.
I
Um,
always understand they blockaded the road at some point.
yeah. I mean, obviously, that's. And then they started just attacking us at every angle, and I kind of tell people, and so they get a picture of an idea. I mean, we were literally like ducks in the middle of a pond. I mean, we had nowhere to run, nowhere to escape. I mean, there's 17 vehicles against the entire town,
Right.
33 of us, and we were just completely outnumbered. There was nothing that we could do. The beginning of the convoy was able to kind of get out, because they were in front. They were kind of able to push their way back out of the city, a little bit further than the back half of us. The vehicle I was in was kind of in the rear, and by the time that we all got turned around and was heading back out, I mean, it was just literal. I mean, everything being bombed, RPGs attacking us. I mean, you name it. It was, our vehicles were just
It's mini
destroyed.
Mogadishu, right? I mean, that's really what it was. And those guys, I mean, you got special forces operators in there, and you got a mixture of Delta Rangers, everything else, and those guys were sitting ducks too. So 17 convoy fresh off the tit coming in. I mean, it's incredible. So
Yeah.
okay, so like at that moment, I don't mean to sound like green behind the ears here, but you're in that situation. Your thoughts at the process, besides like holy crap, I'm gonna die. What is your thought as a person who's just, like I said, you're driving, everything's okay, everything's fine, and then all of a sudden you can feel that tension, like you can feel the static electricity in the air when it kicks off and fires off. Can you recall what you were thinking at the time?
Yeah, I think most of us were, and I speak for the ones that were in the vehicle with me. I can't,
Right.
for us. I mean, we were trying to stay as calm, collected, and cool as you possibly can, while being shot at. But it was even kind of before that when we were ready to lock load and kind of prepare ourselves for what was about to happen. At that point, when we were doing that, is when we realized that, oh crap! I mean, there's 5 of us in the Humvee,
Right.
and we had 2 working weapons. The rest of them
Oh,
malfunctioned. So
Let me
yeah,
guess.
I mean, Lori's
M16s. You rocking M16s?
M16. So we had 3 M16s, 1 M9, as well as two 249s. So we did have those. I mean, I guess, but the M16s were just,
Or it's a
they
was
were
the
Carson?
Humvee
jammed.
armored by chance?
Huh?
It's
Was the Humvee
2003.
armored by chance?
No, it's 2003.
No.
Doubtful. It's doubtful because you listen. It didn't get any better after Clinton gutted and took all armor off of pretty much everything. It didn't get any better until, like, I hate to say it, 2008, 2009. Even then, it was still rough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were the 249s working at all?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Those actually, that's what I said. Thankfully, we did have those 2 with us. But at that point, when we noticed that we just didn't have the weapons to shoot back, is when it really became oh crap, we're in some serious trouble here. And especially being kind of at the rear. So my best friend was driving, and I just remember how and I'm sure she was probably as nervous and just going haywire in her own mind, but I'm telling you, she just did an amazing job of trying to get us out of there.
Was that
And
Lori?
Lori, yeah. So
Yeah.
Lori Payesla, she did an amazing job of doing what she was trying to do, and that was just to get us back out of there. And the first sergeant Dowdy, he was in the passenger seat, and then 2 soldiers sitting beside me. And then this was a 4-person Humvee, so I was kind of the smallest, so I was kind of shoved up on, like, the
Right.
transmission hump, just to kind of make way for everyone. But I think at that point is when I just slowly just kind of dropped my head and I just started praying for us. I mean, I felt so helpless of what to do in that very moment of we don't have any way to shoot back. It was just a drive as fast as you can, Lori, and
Right.
dodge bullets, see what we can do to get us out of there. And I don't know at what point, but I was knocked unconscious, and the other four were still alive. I do remember that, but then after that, I have no memory of anything that happened.
Was that like
So
RPG blast? Was that rollover? I mean, what?
well, we were hit on the right side by an RPG. So once that RPG hit, Lori ended up losing control, and we ended up slamming into the back of a disabled 18-wheeler of one of ours. I mean, we were following it, but the driver was unfortunately. He passed, and then the passenger was Shoshana Johnson, who was later captured as well. But once we hit the back of that trailer,
Right.
Lori didn't survive it as well, and the three men, I guess, were all shot and didn't make it.
Our good friend Jeremy Mitchell is in pocket, and he's saying they were soft armor, just like Mogadishu. Just like I said, Mogadishu 2.0.
Yeah.
Okay, so I know Leeroy and I both have questions here, so we'll kind of move into the next phase of this, because now, you're dealing with captivity and you're dealing with capture, and at that point you came to at some point. And what happened after that? And then I know Leeroy's got a question on this as well. That's okay. Go ahead.
Yep. Yeah. So actually, when we hit the back of the trailer, the Iraqis kind of did their thing. They came around to determine who was KIA and who was still alive. And at that point is when they noticed that, unfortunately, the other four were fallen, but that I was still breathing, even though I was unconscious. And at that point is when they ripped me out of the vehicle, dragged me across to one of Saddam's palaces that was nearby. And that is where they, stripped me of all of my military gear. And then sadly ended up breaking some of my bones. So, like
It just really pisses me off, Jessica. No, this really, and Leeroy too. Like, this is why when we want to be like, can we take a flight and go join the 32nd parallel and find anyone who is still involved? It's just frustrating. And this is the camaraderie. This is the brotherhood. This is the sisterhood.
Yeah.
I have a video that you recorded just a day or two ago. Can I play this? And I think this kind of moves us into this, and it captures it. I think it's a good time to play it. Then Leeroy will take over this part. Here it is. You just did this a few days ago, I believe. So
I was just a private from West Virginia, a 19-year-old that was among 200,000.
Just 3 days in country, Private First Class Jessica Lynch was in a long convoy when that Iraqi RPG hit her armored vehicle.
Like, my back was broken at the 4th and 5th lumbar. We are suspecting that was caused from the RPG hitting us.
She was knocked unconscious.
Lori lost control of the vehicle. We ended up slamming into the back of a disabled 18-wheeler, the trailer.
The Iraqis came and broke her left upper arm as they dragged her into one of Saddam's palaces. They broke her left femur and beat her with a metal pipe, breaking her left shin.
And then my right foot was completely crushed.
Before taking her to a hospital in Nasiriyah. Once there, the beating stopped, and she finally woke up.
I was extremely scared, especially during that moment when I opened my eyes.
She thought she was paralyzed, and they didn't feed her for 9 days.
Nothing compares to that real life experience of being a POW.
Being cut off from her unit, she had no idea what would happen. She remained as positive as she could until they took her to the operating room to amputate her leg.
So at that point was probably the moment that I was, probably lost hope, all hope. But I cried and I begged and pleaded with them to just please stop. And for whatever reason, they stopped what they were doing and transferred me back upstairs.
What she did not know was the Navy SEALs, the Army's Delta Force, and the Air Force pararescue specialists were on their way to get her.
When did you realize that you were being rescued?
So it actually did not hit me until legit the moment that they were coming in for me.
It was at night on April 1st. She could hear helicopters and tanks and bombs going off in the distance.
I did not know until literally the moment that the guys were standing next to my bed. And he said, "We're Americans and we're here to take you home." And I just remember looking up at him and saying, "Yeah, I'm an American soldier too."
Out of her room, down the stairs, and to the evac helicopter waiting outside.
Then it finally hit me that once I was in that helicopter, that I was going to be okay.
In the years since, Jessica has become a bit of a celebrity, delivering commencement addresses, testifying before Congress, and speaking at luncheons. She won a Purple Heart and the Bronze Star. Last Friday night, she was the keynote speaker at the Honoring Utah Women Veterans event in the state capitol rotunda and delivered the same message she tells herself every day.
You can't give up. No matter what you are going through, no matter what you are faced with, you got to keep going. You're not going to be a complainer. You're not going to complain, not one bit, not 1 ounce are you going to do this to yourself. Don't beat yourself up. You've already been there. Now it's time to thrive, strive, and continue on.
Call it having kids or getting older. That's that shit really. Woman, I know you don't wear the hero moniker well, and I don't know a veteran who does. And most veterans give their lives, and the people in that vehicle most certainly are heroes, and you and I know that. But you are a hero, and it's not even about that day. It's how you handled it afterwards, which makes me admire you so very, very much. And I'm just going to say this, and I got to say it, because if I don't say it, I'm going to get all emotional, is there's plenty of vets who get caught up into the narrative, and good friends of mine who've got caught up in the narrative, and even people who did amazing things in the military that feel like they have to give their resume, or they have to go ahead and explain away their service, or somehow be ashamed that they were support. And I think it's amazing that when we get to the rest of the story, the true heroic effort that you executed was just to come. But Leeroy, go ahead, buddy.
Jessica, just for full disclosure, I actually had the great opportunity once to sit down and talk with Jimmy Hatch, and he signed this, and we had a good about a half an hour long discussion in person. And so there seems to be a common theme of like what happens in the moment and then how you process things after. And in this book, he talks about it. Everything's after. This is how he dealt with everything after his incident. And I'd seen you on several other podcasts. I'd seen you on, you were being talked about on Joe Rogan at one point, and you had done another podcast with one of the SEALs, and they had mentioned at one point that they had come driven by your building at one point where you were being held captive, and they didn't even know you were in there at one point. So I'd like to explore that just a little bit. Like you're injured, you're there, like in the moment, not post, but like in the moment. What did you feel? What were you thinking? How did you carry through that?
Yeah, I mean, it was difficult. But I honestly just had to keep telling myself, just you can do this. Like, Jess, you have to do this. Like, you have to be strong for yourself. There's no one else around. Again, I was the only American that was taken there from my unit. So I didn't know what had happened to anybody else. I didn't know what was, even occurring. But yeah, it was just a lot of kind of self-talk of like, you've got this. I knew that I was unable to move. I didn't know at that point that my back was completely broken, but I knew that my arm was broken. I knew that my legs, that kind of stuff. And there was a point in the and I guess in the captivity where I didn't even know if I still had my legs, like at that,
Right.
because all I could feel was complete numbness and absolutely nothing from my waist down. But of course, as the days kind of went by, it's you're like, okay, I'm okay. Like, I know that
Yeah.
I'm okay, but I knew that I was not physically okay.
Sure. Sure.
But I couldn't set up even because of the back being broke. So I couldn't set up. I could literally do nothing but lay there on the bed for those days and just hope and kind of, again, just be wishful thinking, mindful, whatever you want to call it. Like, all of these things were going through my mind of, what can I do? What should I do? And there, unfortunately, there was just nothing that I could do but wait and just hope and pray that, the guys knew that I was missing. And I had no idea that they even knew that I was missing. Because, again, I'm 19 years old at this time.
Right.
I'm a private. I'm from West Virginia. I'm, nobody high in rank. I'm nothing special.
You're an
So
American. You're an American.
well,
Yeah.
I was, but I mean, I didn't know that they would be out looking for.
Of course, and that of course that's what you think about, and
Yeah.
and I can't imagine, but the good news is you are an American, right? I mean, that's the good news. You got to hope against hope. We don't leave people behind. Leeroy, go ahead.
Real quick, sorry. So you're laying there. I have to imagine, 19 years old, broken head to toe, right? Broken back. You're praying, actively praying. Is there a moment like when the teams found you? Was there a moment where you're like, my prayers worked? Like, was there that feeling like God has answered my prayers? Like, this is evidence for me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I do absolutely know what you mean. I don't think any of it really hit me, to be honest. Because again, when they came in, it was so chaotic of, they were amazing. There was absolutely Marine SEALs, Rangers, you name it. They were all a part of it. But inside of that room, I just remember the chaos. I mean, and they were doing an absolutely amazing job to keep me still and not kind of rock it.
Right.
But I remember just getting to that. Finally to the helicopter, to the awaiting helicopter. And when he absolutely said, welcome home, is kind of the moment that I was like, oh my God, like this is happening. It's true. And then I'll be honest, I don't remember too much more because I was
So the morphine kicked in. Come on, the morphine kicked in. Come on, just let's be honest.
Yeah. Tore it all. One of those.
Yeah. No, listen, I broke my back. I know. What
all three of us have.
Yeah,
all three of us have.
I've got a spinal fusion in the lower 3-level fusion in my lower spine. I know Leeroy's had the same thing. We've
T11, T12.
It's stupid. We do stupid things to our body, but once that morphine kicks in, life gets better. But the not to spend too much time on this, but a lot of stories that I've heard is that moment of rescue is until you're on that helo or until you cross in, the international date line or until you cross out of enemy airspace. you're most fearful is that time. It's like, what's going to happen next? Because everything has just been a gut punch, gut punch, gut punch. Were you there until you passed out from morphine euphoria? Or were you kind of like, you're like, okay, now I'm going to sleep because I feel it's okay? Or when did that moment come where you're like, I'm safe? Was it the chopper?
No, I mean, it happened inside of the hospital room. Again, once I could recognize that they were, legit Americans, because that was always kind of one of my fears too, is that, the Iraqis would be portraying as Americans, and and do something with me from there. But once I realized that, yes, this was legit, like this was really, really happening, I was able to calm down a little bit more, like, and try to kind of put that trust into them. But yeah, it wasn't, it wasn't like,
Right. Well, sure, you're still in a situation where it's like not going to be okay until you're having McDonald's and you're back in West Virginia. So one last one. Did they fly to Ramstein? Did they bring in Walter Reed? Where did you go from here?
Yeah, so actually, I mean, I went back to, they flew me out of Nasiriyah back to Kuwait. Kuwait is where we kind of met up with the other injured. So anyone who needed that kind of medical attention, we were all loaded up onto, and got us out of there, and then to Germany. Yeah. And then from Germany back to Walter Reed and DC at the time, but now it's Bethesda.
That's the usual hop. That's the flight pattern. No peanuts, but at least you're headed home. Okay, so you get home, and there's 100 more questions, and Leeroy's got them too. These little micro questions, but I want to get to the afterlife too. I want to get to that. That's really the most important thing, because you've come out and like, pardon the language, but in Shawshank Redemption, Andy Dufresne crawls through a river of shit and comes clean out the other side. And where you're at is incredible. I was going to ask you when I first saw you, are you okay? And I don't have to do that. And it's so good to see you where you're at. But the narrative starts, right? And the media gets a hold of it, and the stories start to expand, and the narrative starts to expand, and this whole thing takes a life of its own. And you're sitting there, and where were you when you started to hear the stories, and what your first reaction? Can you walk me through the stages of Jessica's anger or frustration? What was that like?
Yeah, so actually you're going to be completely shocked that I was completely kept away from the media. I had absolutely no idea what was occurring while I was at Walter Reed. Obviously, when I was at Germany, I was in and out of surgeries to stabilize me to get me back to DC. But while I was at Walter Reed, I mean, I was kept completely in the dark, and I do literally mean that. Like, I had no idea what was really occurring, but I wouldn't have been able to kind of talk anyway. At that point, it was focusing on kind of getting me to walk, to eat,
right?
to
Sure, rehab, yeah.
I mean, I couldn't even set up for, probably a good month until they were able to be like, all right, you gotta you gotta try to set up at least. So
that's the most painful thing in the world, Jessica. Like, after back surgery, and it is the most excruciating pain I have ever experienced. I went through childbirth. You have, so you win. But man, the first time after I got post-op and I sat up, I scream to the top of my lungs. I've never been in so much pain in my life.
No, I agree. I mean, it was absolutely brutal. And then on top of that, though, I mean, I was also dealing with head laceration, as well as the broken arm. The left femur had to be removed because when I was still in the unconscious state at in Nasiriyah, the Iraqis actually removed my femur, and they placed a 1940s era rod that was unsterilized inside of my leg.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh,
So yeah,
does the
the
VA
ones
cut? Tell me the VA gave you 100 on that. I mean, just please tell me the
Oh
VA gave
my
you a 100 rating.
God.
actually they do. Actually,
Of
they do
course they
not give
did
you
it.
100
That's
for
why I
that.
said it. Son of a.
They do not give you they do not give you 100% for that, which is kind of crazy to me as well. But no, they do not.
Bullshit.
Um, no,
Yeah.
so but yeah, they actually ended up redoing the surgery and stuff at Germany. So, also I was dealing with, the back, the arm, the leg, the bottom leg. So my tibia was busted with the metal pipe. And then, of course, the right foot surgery. So I was dealing with a whole lot more and going on mentally as well, not just physically, but mentally as well. So, sorry, my phone is dying. Like you
You're
said,
okay,
this is part of the.
dude. We are so not high tech here. We are late. I mean, don't let the studio and stuff fool you. We're pretty low key.
I'm
Um,
literally on my iPhone.
yeah, I know.
Oh,
Relax. That's okay. You're doing great. Take your time. So, real quick question. I want to hear this. When did you just say, you know what? I shouldn't have joined the Army and I should have joined the Navy. When did that conversation take place?
you know what? And people are still shocked to this day that I have absolutely no regrets of
Yeah,
joining.
you never
And
do,
I
right?
do. I truly mean that.
Yeah.
I was given an opportunity to join. Um, Given kind of, I guess, the status, again, I'm from West Virginia. We didn't have a lot of job opportunities. Again, this was 2001, and I joined in the summer of 2001 after I graduated high school that May. So it was still peacetime. There really, 9/11 hadn't even happened yet.
Yeah.
Um, so I assumed, just like most people during that time, that, hey, I'm just going to go and get, education, travel benefits. Plus, I mean, yes, obviously serving was part of that, but a large part of it for me was the education. I mean, I wanted to be a school teacher. I wanted to be teaching kindergarten. So to me, those were things that were very high for me. So I definitely, even though it was a rough road to take, I don't regret joining at all. I mean, if I could, I would, do it all over again and hope that there would be a different outcome. But I wouldn't hesitate to join
Hmm.
again at
It's
18.
it's
The
always the
Navy.
most positive people. The people who have conquered something that most people would consider to be insurmountable, right? But it's always the most positive people who come away with from something like that and saying, "I would have changed nothing. I would do nothing different," because they understand that God only gives them what they can handle. At
Yeah.
least that's the thought.
Tonto's in the house. What's up, Chris? Good to see you,
Chris,
buddy. We're not allowed to
Hey,
talk. You're not supposed to
Chris.
be, Chris. You're not supposed to be on any podcasts. Remember, you're busy now, and you've got a thing going on. So he's like, "This is the last podcast I'm doing." He's an amazing dude.
Absolutely. 100.
We had some people ask questions. One was, how can the VA do this? The VA does this all the time.
oh yeah,
The VA does this. That back then, I mean, dude, like my rating was taken away from me within 320 days of leaving Bremerton. That's what they do, and then you got to go fight for it. And back then, I would say between the 90s and 2010 was the roughest period for the VA, just because of the constant red tape and fight. And they were dequaling everybody for every reason. It's like, oh, you got rolled over by a tank. Well, that sounds survivable. We're going to drop you to 10%. So
right.
it was bad.
There's a
It
level
was. I mean,
of
and
legal.
it still is, but I think we are so much more knowledgeable now. And, VSOs or, veteran service officers, whatever you guys call them in your areas, are doing such an amazing,
Yeah.
a greater, you know, job of making sure that our veterans are, getting the help, the entitlements that they do deserve. But
Yeah.
I mean, I did walk away with 100%, but not for the left leg entirely.
For the medieval,
That
black
is
iron
crazy.
rod that was found from some skeletal cave of medieval
Yeah.
knights from the Moors and the Saxons fighting over the cup of Christ. No, not that. I mean, it's insane to think about. They put that in your body.
Right.
Leeroy, go ahead, buddy.
Same thing. I was just going to touch on the same point, is that for the people that that have to interact with the VA, if you're not willing to assume a legal path, right? If you just go there and say, this is what I want, and fill out a couple of forms, you're probably going to get some pushback, right? But if for the people who are truly struggling with this, please don't feel ashamed to go the legal route and get what
No.
you're supposed to get.
Fight for it. Absolutely. 120%. I don't have a lot negative to say about the VA other than when my rating was taken away. If it wasn't for President Trump, I wouldn't have gotten it back, because they literally closed that window and they shut it down, and they said, you don't qual, you missed the window, you don't get a redo. And that's just unfortunate. Jessica, this isn't about our VA problems. We'll be here all night if we do that. I want to get to the story, because this is like incredible. This narrative comes out. You were blacked from the media. Do you think that was on purpose, or do you think that was for your rehab?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely 100%, because I had an amazing doctor who oversaw my entire process at Walter Reed. Absolutely amazing guy. 100% had my back on it. But yeah, I mean, it was a lot to do with, let's get me emotionally, mentally back to where I should be before I was thrown to the wolves of, the craziness of, again, those fabricated stories, the media that went absolutely crazy when I got out and was able to finally come home. But people don't realize that I was in Germany for about 2 weeks. And again, that was to stabilize me so that I could fly back home.
Right.
Because that flight is not, it's not just a short trip across the.
No.
Mac flights suck. We all know.
Yeah,
they suck when everything's healed.
Yeah,
they suck all the time.
Yeah, but and then of course, like I said, I wasn't given any food or water for my captivity.
Right.
So that was a heck of a process too, because I couldn't even eat solid foods for probably a good almost month. And then of course it was apple sauces and insured drinks and milkshakes or whatever it is that I could kind of slowly start taking in and getting those nutritions that I needed. Because again, I was 20 years old at that point. When I was rescued, I was 19, but I was 20 when I was at Walter Reed, and
You spent
I
your
weighed
birthday in the
about.
hospital.
Yeah, that's right. Birthday in the hospital. Yeah.
Yeah, I did have my 20th birthday was in the hospital, but I was approximately, between 80 and 90 pounds while I was kind of recovering during that phase. And I mean, it's a lot to kind of
It's a
overcome
lot of
all of that.
trauma. It's a lot of trauma, man, mentally and physically. It's a lot of
It
trauma.
really was. It really was. So, I mean, I definitely am not faulting my doctor by any means of keeping me away from, I wasn't even allowed to watch the news. Like, that's how serious
Right.
he was. I mean, I could only watch like funny stuff on TV. Again, anything to kind of keep me in a positive light going forward. They didn't want me to kind of focus on what was happening in the news.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when did that curtain lift? When did that veil show you what was going on in the real world, and what was your reaction?
Yeah, so it actually wasn't until probably close to even the end of May, June timeframe. might have even been probably even closer. Yeah, I'm gonna say maybe even mid-June, going into probably even July, because I was still at Walter Reed until July 22nd. Um, so I wasn't talking to the media, and of course, being in the hospital for those 4 months, by time I got out, it was a circus
Oh, it
to
was
deal with.
feeding frenzy, I'm sure.
It was absolutely nuts. But I just remember getting to come back to West Virginia after being released from Walter Reed and thinking, I am so happy to be home, but I have no idea what's going on. Like I wasn't prepared for that new life that I was about to, take on. So it was very difficult of just figuring out who I was, because and everyone says this, that they're not the same person when they get out that
Hmm.
they were when they went in. And for my instance, it was absolutely 100% true. I mean, I wasn't the same person, physically, mentally, just had no idea what I was doing. I was scared most of the time. I mean, I had a lot of times when I would even be like, once I was able to drive again, driving down the roads and thinking that I see Iraqis in the vehicles next to me with weapons pointed at me. So there was a lot of things that when we return, and I do mean we as in most everybody that returns, that we go through that we are not prepared for in
No.
this reality of civilian world again.
That's yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I
Jeremy
can.
says you amaze me every time, Stumbles, and but it was kind of, I know Jeremy, and like I saw it the first time and someone called you Stumbles. I'm like, wait a second, this better not be a troll. I'm like, oh, it's Jeremy. It's got to be an inside thing.
It's Jeremy. It's totally an inside joke. I fall a lot, as you can imagine. So I've had 8 operations on the right foot to kind of get me back to where I can at least walk again. But I still have no feeling in the left leg, and that's the one that they took out with the femur. So Germany did put a new rod back in it, by the way, but I just have no feeling in that left side due to the nerve damage
Yeah.
that occurred. So yes, I fall quite frequently, but I make a joke out of it. And of course, Jeremy and Chris and Barry and all of us are just really good friends. But Jeremy and I, we throw the punches at each other and keep us alive.
Well,
Yeah.
I
It's the
mean, they
best.
say
Good.
humor is the best medicine. I mean, that's
Sure.
what they say anyway.
Sure. So
Truly,
You know,
that's why
so
we.
truly is.
Go ahead.
you're over there, right? And maybe you just left Walter Reed. You're still dealing with the PTSD. Your body's on the mend, right? But then these news stories start coming out, and you having just been ultra shielded from all of that, from all of
Yeah.
the chaos and the narratives. Was there a moment when you realized, oh, this got out of, like, this is bigger than, this story isn't mine anymore. It's about me, but it's more than that. Was there a moment like that for you?
And did you
Yeah, I
blame
mean,
GI? And did you blame GI Jane? Because I think GI Jane has a lot to do with what happened with you. And I think the media were like, "Oh, this movie's great. Let's go ahead and just slap this on Jessica
No.
Lynch." Yeah, was that what happened, or no?
absolutely.
Yes,
No,
thought so.
honestly, none of it really hit me. I mean, that like as 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 it got out of control, I guess. That I mean, obviously I knew what was happening, but I mean, it didn't really like dawn on me how extraordinarily like out of control those stories really had
Right.
gotten until I got home and really was just kind of like, okay, now what? Like now it's literally, I need to face the media and set this record straight. And, you know, I've told people from the very beginning, so, 23 years now, that, listen, I could have taken credit for every one of those media stories that was released. Nobody would have known. Not one person would have known what had actually happened. Because again, the other four in my vehicle didn't make it. But I knew the person that I was, the kind of person that I was raised, that was not something that I was going to stand for. I wanted to make sure that the ones who actually did, get the credit that they rightfully deserved, even if they didn't make it back home. I wanted to make sure that we kept that word to them, that, I would honor them. And I've done that for the past 23 years. I don't want to take credit for anything that I didn't do, and I know that I didn't do, because again, I was knocked unconscious.
That's fair. Yeah.
Did you have a chance to I know you went on Diane Sawyer. I remember it vividly like it was yesterday. You're not the only person. You remember it because obviously it happened to you, but I remember seeing your stories and getting these updates. Did you ever have a chance to face the Washington Post and the original writers of the stories? And folks, people are asking, well, what was said? The stories came out that Jessica, you can put this better than me.
Yeah.
That she came out and she, was Rambo basically and fought. Yeah, and that's really what it came down to. And we don't need to spend a lot of time on that because it's not her story. But Jessica, can you fill in the blanks for people so they understand what's going on?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And we should have done that. I apologize to everyone. So yeah, basically, during that 4 month that I was not talking, that I was in the hospital, these stories started circulating about how, and again, I don't even know where they were getting some of these stories because they weren't even correct information, first of all. But they were just literally, pulling stories out of everywhere that they could, and that had no, truth, no basis to them. And unfortunately, since I was at that time the first POW rescued, I don't know if it was that they wanted a feel-good story, so it was easier to kind of fabricate and make it seem like the war was going well, or if it was just they had no idea, so they were just throwing together something that might have sounded good. So yeah, there was just all kinds of stories. Like I was literally a GI Jane.
You fought to your last round.
Yes,
you had one round left. You made the decision whether to use the round on yourself or you didn't. You threw it down at the enemy, and I'm just like, okay.
Yeah. So there was just all kinds of like crazy stories like that, and and to me, I'm like, well, no, I was literally knocked unconscious, and I didn't even fire a round because my weapon had malfunctioned. So I just knew that it was something very important to me to make sure that, hey, we actually had true heroes who were out there fighting until literally either they perished or, he got out as a staff sergeant, but then Private Miller, who, legit was using up every round that he could find laying near him to knock down Iraqis. So I don't know. To me, it was just important. I wanted to make sure that we honored the ones that did not make it home and gave credit to the ones who did.
Quickly, it is 8:00, and you have already done so much and stayed way past the time I expected you to, and you've got a lot. You're going to be doing this all week. We know this. If you need to go, you're not going to. It's okay. But are you doing okay right now? Do we have a little bit longer?
No, I'm good. We're good for right now. I don't have another one until tomorrow morning. So okay. Once the actual anniversary of the rescue, it'll kind of pick up again tomorrow, and but I'm okay. So
Okay, good.
let's finish where we started and not kind of leave everyone hanging. So
All right, awesome. Leroy, go ahead.
Two quick questions. First of all, do you ever do any like public speaking engagements, like in person, for one? And two, because of everything that had happened with the stories that had come out from either the Pentagon or military brass, or whatever the case is, do you feel like that's given you your exposure to that? Do you feel like that's given you a kind of, I don't know, spidey sense, like a sixth sense to kind of read some of the stories that get published and say, like, I'm dubious? Like, does that cause that reaction?
yeah, of course. I mean, I think everybody in today's time is a little bit cautious of what we are reading. So unless I know the person or know about the story or heard of, I think it's only right that most all of us are a little cautious on what we take away as being true or again fabricated. But I think we've learned our lessons from 2003 to
Yeah.
2005 when Iraq was really hot and heavy, and it was just it was a crazy time. So but I think the news stories have gotten a little bit better with time.
Yeah, it helps when you go on Diane Sawyer and NBC and CNN have to. I mean, fake
Yeah.
news has been around. People are just realizing fake news has been around for a long
Yeah.
time, and it's always interesting when people say fake news. I'm like, water is wet, grass is green, and the sky is blue. All of these things have the same in common. Family is crucial during recovery. We talked a little bit before the show, and then in the beginning of the show, and explaining that home looks like the battlefield to a lot of veterans, and then the battlefield looks like home, and people go and they deploy and they get outside the wire, and the battle becomes comforting. The battle is where they somehow find a peace or a moment away from the quiet time, and coming home they fear it the most, and it's incredible. Every veteran that has had the opportunity to kind of enter my orbit and have these conversations, it's always the same. It's like coming home was the hard part. It wasn't. It was going to battle was easy.
Yeah.
Your thrust.
Absolutely.
How did you reacclimate? How did family help you kind of keep grounded? And who is that person who told you, Jessica, stay level, or who gave you that direction?
Yeah, no, I have so many amazing supporters throughout. So I got to give props to all of them. But I have a very tight knit family. My brother actually went in and served with me. So
Oh,
we
wow.
signed up at the exact same time.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
The different MOSs, so different bases, different things. But yeah, he went in August of 2001, and where I went delayed entry, so I didn't start until the week after 9/11. But yeah, so my brother served right there too. So I think when you
Wait,
have somebody.
you were a depper? So, oh my God. Okay, so you spent your
All three
birthday in
of
the
us
hospital.
were.
Hold on. No, I know we were all deppers, but she was a depper in 9/11, dude. So it's like
Right.
she signs up and she's like, my ship date's coming, and then 9/11 happens. Oh, can you walk through that for us? Because my head would have exploded because I went in 94. Leeroy, you were what, 92, 91? Was
So I
it?
originally went in 91, but then I came
Yeah.
back in 2007.
Okay.
Okay, yeah.
Jessica, how just as a fellow delayed entry programmer, how was that
Yeah.
for you when you're like 9/11 happened? I mean, second doubts. Were you like motivated? Like, okay, now I know why I did this. Where were you and your thoughts on that?
No, I mean, so again, my brother and I signed up in July of 2001. And again, my whole goal was just to kind of go in for the education. But then, so 9/11 happened, and then a week later, I am actually sent off to basic training. So I didn't join basic until September 19th.
Oh my
Right.
gosh.
Yeah, so I was there the week after 9/11, but I think I was most nervous because I didn't know what to expect at that point.
Right.
It's kind
Right.
of like when we went over to
Right.
Iraq and you're like, I don't know, I don't know what they do. I don't know how basic training even works. First of all, I don't know what's going on. But no, it was absolutely, it just, they acted like nothing really had happened. I hate to say that, but I mean, it was just kind
Really?
of just just got us in there, and we just continued on with all of our trainings
Yeah,
and
they
did what we
vacuum
had
the
to
politics out of basic. They don't bring it into basic. I mean,
do.
they teach you the same things they always teach you. But I mean, for you, that had to be like, I was on the other end of the spectrum. I was out processed. I was medically discharged, and I was full rated, and I called recruiters. How do I get back in? Put me back in. I was still a contractor prior to that. So I was like, contract me out. Whatever it takes, get me in. And then my wife looks at me and she's like, no. And I'm okay, fine. But happy wife, happy life. But that's not the excuse. The excuse was, it was just, I didn't have the physical capability to do it anymore and whatever. But it's amazing to see that you're in a DEP program. I've never heard anyone be a DEPer right before 9/11. So it's just intriguing for sure. Leeroy, go ahead.
Yeah, well, my best friend, my wife is out with my best friend's wife right now, and his name's Paul. He's a chief in the Navy, and he signed up immediately after 9/11. Like that was he was gung ho. So I guess there was a little bit of a different pocket of attitude there. Like
A very
was there a
small
group of
amount of people, right? I mean,
right? Was there a group of people who were like, "Hey, we're going to go get even," or whatever the mindset was, versus sounds like you were just like, nope, it's going to be normal training, business as usual
Yeah.
kind of.
right. Okay,
Yeah,
so
it really wasn't any different. I mean, I don't know what basic training was like before, but I mean, nothing really was any different. Like, I mean,
right.
because I guess it wasn't an active war at that time. I mean, yeah, 9/11 had occurred, but those following, as you know, the following weeks after 9/11 were so patriotic with
Yes,
everybody. I mean,
yes.
our world had never seen like everyone come together like they did after 9/11. So
Yeah,
it
we were numb
was,
for a while. We were numb. It wasn't
yeah,
like, let's go find the enemy. It was, let's come together. Let's try to find as many people as we can. And then we started going, when Bush stood up there with the megaphone and said, they'll hear all of us soon. I think we started putting our eye on targets. And
Right.
ultimately
Right.
missed the
Yeah.
ones we really should have hit, but that's a whole nother conversation. Here, you got the Bronze Star. Now, I love in the media said you won it, and I'm always like, no, she earned it, but it's okay. Civilians, Bronze Star, Purple Heart, and then Medal for POW, Prisoner of War.
correct.
When you received these, was this done in DC? Was this done at command? And how did you process? Because I'm going to ask a tough one, and I do this because you are friends with my family, and these are people who I love, so I know you're going to be okay when I ask this question, because I'm pretty sure I think I understand you enough to know how you process. When the survivor guilt came, was it during these medal ceremonies, or when did that happen? And will you share that with us, please?
It actually was not. It surprisingly, it was not. I did not. I mean, obviously, I knew what the medals meant. Like, it wasn't crazy. I mean, I might have been 20 years old, but I was not crazy. I knew what they meant, and it was done at Walter Reed. So before I left Walter Reed, we had the ceremony, and then I was put on a Black Hawk and flew back to West Virginia, because obviously DC, West Virginia is not that far away. But
You flew right over my house, by the way. The flight. First of all, I would love to do dinner sometime with Olivia and the kids.
She
who
lives
also
in between us.
Oh, I know. She's right. Dude, I could throw
I'm
a
in
rock
Dayton,
at.
Ohio, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm in Round Hill. I'm 11 miles from West Virginia border in Virginia. But either way, but the flight pattern's right over my house. So it's like we got Blackhawks coming over all the time. But I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, gosh, no, that's fine. So yeah, it was something. Obviously, again, I knew what I knew what the medal stood for, but it didn't really hit me that, I guess, the survivor guilt, it didn't hit right away. I mean, I knew that I missed my best friend, especially her, because she was the one that I was closest to. We shared rooms together at the barracks. Like, it was just something that when she was kind of taken away from me, I just felt lost. And then the I don't know. I mean, I guess the whole thing really didn't settle in. It was probably, I'm gonna say, maybe a good several months, maybe even a year into it of, oh dear, like, I survived and Lori didn't. And again, I use Lori as an example because, I was closer to her, but she had two young kids, a 3 and a 5-year-old at the time. And I remember thinking she had her whole life ahead of her where those kids needed her. And again, I'm 19 years old, 20 by the time I got out, but I didn't have kids. I was a single, person just kind of, going through life and hoping for the best into a military career. And I think when I finally got to meet the kids, after, because I had met them before, Lori passed. I mean, Lori would bring the kids around and stuff. But I mean, when I got to see them and for the first time realized that these two young kids have to grow up without their mom, is when it, you know what I mean? Like, it really set in and hit me that, oh my gosh, like, why her? Why wasn't it me? Why couldn't it have been the other way around? What I would give to, switch places with her. So yeah, I mean, I think it was just kind of in that moment of, realizing that those two kids had to grow up without their mom. Yeah, it was tough.
How's that relation? Do you still stay in contact?
I do. I do. Contact the kids all the time. We've got them on kind of, texting and speed dials, and I get to see them, and they're absolutely doing amazing. They're growing adults now. I hate to say it, but they're growing. But they're doing absolutely amazing, and they just are thriving as young adults without having a mom.
That makes you,
Yeah.
I mean, there has to be some sense of, before Lori left, like maybe instilled some level of, you had mentioned it before, resiliency, right? The
Yeah.
ability to kind of take in something so bad and then bounce back from that. Good on them.
Yeah.
I'm sure she's incredibly proud of you.
Yeah, I mean, and obviously she wasn't the only one that had kids, and I felt for all of them, but I just was closer to Lori because, again, we did share, a barracks together, a room, and
Right.
just the closeness to my family and her family, and the jokes that we were able to, make with the kids. And even though, again, they were young and probably didn't understand anything we were talking about, but just the differences, and they do it now even still. But I'm like, who would have ever thought that a Hopi Indian from Tuba City, Arizona, and a white girl from West Virginia
Yeah.
would
Yeah.
have such a close, amazing relationship?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the military for you.
It is.
Yeah.
Racism is, it takes a second seat in the military. It's amazing. You realize
Absolutely.
very, very quickly that race is probably the least most important thing in there. And it's not available, and it's not processed the way it is in the US and or in the world. It doesn't live in that environment. It can't. It just doesn't stay there. I'm gonna hand it to Leeroy, and we're gonna bring this. I'm not keeping you more than a half hour over, so we're gonna give you 9 more minutes, and then we're gonna pop smoke. And if I don't do that, people will be mad. There's actually a couple of people who know you in chat, and not just Barry, but we have some pretty quiet individuals, some quiet professionals who watch this show, and a person who was in the Air Force who was on one of the para teams who was that flew you out, and he would never say anything, and he would never make himself a part of this. He just wants you to know there's a gentleman out there who's very, very quiet, who adores you and says that it was an honor to assist and help in any way that he could. And that's the community. When you, my last thing, and then Leeroy's got a couple, I'm sure, but when you go and you look at your education and you look at your desire to be, I love you, dude. Of course I'm going to say something. When you look at your desire to be a teacher and not only to teach math and science and arithmetic and all of that, but you have a life lesson that is incredible. Like the level of understanding of, you know what, I know you're going through a tough time, but let me explain to you how you will get through this, because if I could do this, you could. How have you used that to teach the youth of tomorrow and the adults of tomorrow with what you went through to help them be better students and have a positive outlook in life? That's my big one for you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. First of all, I absolutely love teaching. I finally graduated, got my degree, bachelor's degree, and I think it was 2011, and then went on and got my master's degree in communication. So I was able to kind of even further it a little bit more. And, you know, going back to even your, am I motivational speaker? Yes, I do speak engagements all the time. I have been on the road nonstop in March. So I'm completely exhausted and drained. But I think it's one of those things that I enjoy it so much that it doesn't feel like a hard battle. Even though I'm talking about a hard subject, I just enjoy it so much because of the message. And again, like you said, it's about that resiliency, about perseverance, about, just giving anybody that is feeling like they are going to give up that little bit of hope. And again, I never, never, never compare my story with anybody else's, because what we all go through in life, what you can handle, I may not. What I can handle, maybe you can't. So the last thing that I ever want to do is make somebody feel like they are less than, mediocre. So I want to make sure that, hey, give them a little bit of tips, give them a little bit of, here's what I did. Now you take it and mold it and make it to fit you. Because again, we are all individuals. And yes, we know that, but I mean, we are all unique. We are special. And again, what works for me might not work for you. So you got to find things that you can take and create a beautiful life for you. Because that's what I did. And I am not saying that I have had a terrific life. I mean, there's been definite moments where I'm like, I just can't do this. The pain is too hard. Mentally, I'm not who I used to be. I don't know that I can do this. But every single day I get up and, I put on that AFO, an ankle foot orthotic brace, because I do have the drop foot and the nerve damage on the left leg. So it's a constant reminder when I even get dressed in the morning, because I can't walk without that brace. So when I put that brace on in the morning, I straight up tell myself, Jess, this is going to be a great day. It's going to be a great day, because it is what I make it out to be. And if I get up and I'm already in a bad mood and I'm hating life from the very moment that I open my eyes, it's just not going to be a good day. So I make sure to tell myself, yep, it's going to be a great day. I'm alive. I'm blessed. I made it home. And that's, something that I'm very proud about. So Yeah, so I do take it from there, but I mean, going back to your teaching, I do sub, so I can still go on the road and do my speaking engagements, and I love that because every day I'm in a different classroom or a different school, a different grade, so I get to just be a part of so many youth. I mean, and I I do. I try to hit hit as many classrooms that I can because, again, just seeing those kids smile and know that what I am teaching them, even as a substitute, but even in that little bit of time that I am, teaching them for that day, I know that I'm making an impact on their lives. So again, it's all about perspective and how you look at things. And, I just absolutely love where I'm at. And again, I definitely have down days. I'm not going to lie. But again, it's how so sorry.
We got one
It's how
too.
I open my eyes in the morning and just realize that it's going to be a good day because I'm going to make it a good day.
Go
I've
ahead, Leeroy.
heard, I can't tell you how many motivational speakers that I have heard that have gone through just very similar things. There's Air Force colonel named Brian Schul who literally crashed in Vietnam and burned his face real bad, and then became like an SR-71 pilot after he was told he'd never fly again. When Navy chiefs go through the seas, and we get told about Carl Bashir, there's people like you're okay. There's people like Jason Redman who, is as amazing as he is. It's always the same message from everyone like you, and I'm going to put you in a box there for a second, that there's a decision made at some point that says that this terrible thing that happened will not rule over my life. And I'm going to ask you the same thing that I asked Jimmy Hatch at one point. When you do these speaking engagements, when you do these podcasts, and you kind of let everyone know about your story, is there an element there that is therapeutic for you because you're talking about it?
Yeah, and I you know what, to be honest, I get this question a lot and a lot when I first came home. And I tell people all the time, I think that was one of the things that helped me overcome the, sadness, I guess. And I don't know, because again, it's a completely different experience when you come back injured versus coming back home, maybe incomplete, but it's a different kind of level of things that you need to overcome. And again, maybe that's learning to walk, maybe that's the broken back, again, just setting up. It's a completely different level of things that you need to go through. And for me, Jason Redman, you mentioned him. I got to meet him a
Good
couple
dude.
months, maybe even a year ago. Absolutely amazing guy. But from the beginning, he was one of the ones that I would watch, and I would see him, and I would see what kind of messages he would say,
Yeah.
because I didn't want to be just like any other or every other speaker. I wanted my message to have its own unique, I guess, style, or but once you're up there on that stage, you're like, oh crap. Like, my messages and my points are exactly
right
like
here.
Chris's,
All
or
right here.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because you speak from the heart, and then you're like, well, I tried to be different, but when you're up there on stage, and you're like, it just comes from the heart, and
Yep.
you are, well, at least for me, I'm telling the truth, and I don't want to make anything more into it than what I, went through. So I want to make sure that the resiliency, that perseverance, and, yeah, we all have struggles, but one day at a time, you can overcome it.
We're going to put a bow on this now, and we have a 1 minute. Everyone gets a minute at the end of the show. But before we do that, I have to ask the question. If I don't ask this, I will get yelled at. Pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
Oh.
Yes.
Oh. Damn it, Army.
No wonder you joined the Army. Now I know why. Never mind. She likes pineapple on pizza. Pull the plug. All right.
You know what though? I may anything. I love
it's fair.
I love pizza. Let's
fair
be
enough.
honest.
It's a 50-50. You have to. You brought balance to the force. We've asked this question probably 200 times on the show. Olivia's celebrating. Olivia's out there cheering. They're literally gonna have a party over this. Second thing is, you book these things, and you did this without any thought. And my wife reached out, and you said yes. And a lot of people are like, sure, tell me how much you're gonna give me. The most amazing thing, besides your value, besides your honor, your integrity, all the things that we look for in veterans, the fact that you came on here, I'm going to ask for one other thing. I need a video of you just saying, this is a Don't Unfriend Me show, because we've got everyone else to do it. We would love to have you do it, but I also need to do something in the military. I need this hat. So I've got my own. I'll send you mine. You send me yours. I would love one, and I'll just buy it if I have. I don't care, whatever. It's a great looking hat. Go over to Jessica's site here. I'm putting in the URL for everybody. Yeah. Take a look. Go over to her website, learn all about her, book her, get her there, give her everything she needs and more, and then you get your final minute. Jessica, thank you for being on the Don't Unfriend Me show. 1 minute's yours.
Thank you. Well, first of all, thank you guys so much. I truly appreciate everyone's love, their prayers, the support. So let's continue to pray and keep our younger generation that are being sent overseas, and the ones that are still here, make sure that we keep them in our thoughts and our prayers until they return home safely. So this is the Don't Unfriend Me. I am Jessica Lynch. Watching.
Thank you, ma'am. We appreciate it. Whenever you have a chance, I will send you a little thing and you can say it. We want to do that because what we like to do is get people to continue to see you, go to your website, know that you were on the show. God bless you. Thank you so much. You made my night.
So much.
Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate you.
Thanks.
All right, my friend. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.
Oh, man. Oh, man. Oh, man.
What an amazing person.
Dude, cool. You know, the old saying is you never meet your heroes, right? Because they'll disappoint you.
They always say it'll let you down. In that case.
Not in this case. Not at all. Like,
you know why? Because she was genuine.
Oh, totally. So real.
Such a huge amount of genuineness that was baked into that. What a great lady. Oh,
I think I just, people don't understand how much courage it takes to devalue yourself in the eyes of other people. And even
humility.
But devalue, right? So she got a lot of resistance for that. When she came out, people sent her a lot of angry, like, why are you opposing the war? And why are you saying things aren't true? And the courage it took to go over there and fight, and then the courage to survive, and then the courage to take that, just the judgmental SOBs in this country of some people who are so understanding and loving, but then there's also these people who are just negative, and no matter what she would have done, to be able to face that and to put herself in a position of saying, no, I didn't do those things, and I'm not going to allow you to say that anymore because it wasn't true, is incredible. I mean, that's the most heroic thing in my eyes. I mean, to me, to be able to go ahead and say, I'm going to humble myself, like you said, humility, I'm going to put myself in, and even what some would be considered a negative light, because even when she is admitting, listen, I didn't do these things, there's people who would blame her and say, well, why did you say you did those things? She's like, I didn't. I never said those things. To me, there's a lot of veterans who have very big names, who are very prominent, and you guys know who I'm talking about. And these are people who I've met, and I've put flesh against flesh and shook their hand, and who would not change the story and stuck to their guns and continued to lie. But people like Chris Tonto Perano, people like Jessica Lynch, people like Ryan Weaver, people like Eli Crane, the veterans we've had on this show who have been truly incredible, Ryan Samuels, even Leeroy, every single night he comes on, live by a code that we value, and it didn't stop the moment that we out-processed. It stayed with us. So it's incredible. Leeroy, your thoughts. I mean, I've said what I have to say.
So being in the Navy, a lot of people watching this show would know that I'm still in. I still get to interact with some pretty cool people. But when I had mobilized to DJ, when you leave, you get like these certificates that says you're with the Fraternal Order of the Black Mamba, kind of thing, and they give you coins, and there's all of this additional swag that you come home with. One of the coins that you leave with, if you get to work with DevGru at all, is super cool. Shelly Morgenstein donated $100. Says, "Hi, Jessica. Thanks for sharing your story. We love you, Barry and Shelly."
Love you, Shelly.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shelly.
So when you leave the theater, if you're fortunate enough to go work with the DevGru guys, there's always these trade-offs with the coins and so forth. One of the coins says only the deed, not the glory. And it's this old, Spartan saying, like, you're not doing what you're doing for the glory. You're doing it because it's what's right. And a lot of times I think Bubba donated $21.10, says best episode. Thank you, Bubba.
Thanks, Bubba.
I think a lot of times when we see a lot of the stories that come forth from whatever Delta Operator, these movies or these book deals that come forth, there's an element of that. There's like, are you saying what you're saying? Like, it's supposed to be kind of hush hush, right? Like, we're not really supposed to talk about it, even though I know that we do. But here in this case, we had somebody who was actually humble, said, "No, I didn't do these things." Was very truthful about all that. And I'll tell you what, man, that there's a level of integrity there that is very rare. Good on her. God love her.
I want to pay forward to you all my 50th birthday tomorrow. Thank you for being a solid place for me to show up and feed my political curiosity and challenge even the places in me that I still learn about every day. So thanks, Kimberly Jurgemeyer. Kim, happy birthday. I saw this donation earlier. The fact that you give us $50 on your birthday, happy 50th birthday. We love you, and thank you for being a longtime listener, and we appreciate you so very, very much. That's huge. We need to complete the trifecta. We got Chris, we got Jessica. We need to get Ollie North on now. That's up to me to figure out how to get Mr. North on here, because I just, the military people who, and there's plenty of other people I would love to meet, but those three truly means a great deal. So to see Jessica Lynch, I want to thank Barry and Shelly and Jeremy Mitchell and everyone else who made this possible to have her on. It truly was awesome. So I hope you guys have a chance to watch it.
To your point, I think it's good to have heroes, but there's also that, like, you don't necessarily always want to meet them, because then when they could let you down, then it's like, well, who's my next hero, right? And you have to realize that has to come from you. Here is a case where you can actually have this person as a hero. This lady was amazing.
Yeah, she's so kind too, dude.
Yes.
And it's like, we're married, we're old married men, we're not smitten, and it's not that. It's just she's a real person, and you get these phonies all the time. She deserves every bit of success that she has, and I really need to get one of those hats. We really got to do dinner, and I really need to have her do an intro for the show, because she's one that I want. We're gonna shift some gears. We've got a little bit of show left for 20 minutes. We're still trying to hit our goal. 170, 110 is where we're at. So we're gonna keep doing that. Receive this in the mail. We get to try off the new lens in the camera.
Oh, look at that.
And its capability. It says MAGA Republicans are trying to rig the midterm elections. You can vote yes to level the playing field. And then there is a plethora of a bunch of BS inside of this. This is actually blatant lies.
Did that come in your mailbox?
Yes. There is nothing true about this in any way, shape, or form. Not one thing. It talks about how Republicans are trying to gerrymander Virginia. It's not true. Republicans aren't trying to gerrymander Virginia at all. It talks about how Republicans are trying to take 10 seats to 1 for take over Democrat control. And it says Donald Trump, I don't know, my glasses are. Donald Trump personally directed Republican-controlled states across the country to take the unprecedented step of drawing new congressional maps. Well, it's not unprecedented, folks. We draw new congressional maps every time there's a census or every time there's a shift, every few years. This is what happened in Texas, and the only one who's doing it based upon political demographics, which is what the Constitution and what the Supreme Court has said, is the only way you can do it. Democrats are doing it based on color and socioeconomic status. And if you go look at what they did with Fairfax, they drew a line halfway through the state of Virginia in order to go ahead and create white rural areas with urban city environments. It's ridiculous. It's just blatant lies. Obama has a commercial that he's done, and it's just the same thing. It's just blatant lies. So my question is, I understand we have the speech and debate clause. I understand that these people in their actual jobs can lie, but why can political campaigns blatantly lie like this? And I've seen the Republican response to this, and this isn't true. That Democrats are the one who's proposing 10-1 redraws for Democrats against Republicans. Right. Everything they're accusing us of, they're doing themselves. And people might say, yeah, but this is politics. No, these are lies. It's blatantly misrepresenting what actually is taking place. Does this tick you off as much as it does me, or is this just business as usual, bro?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it is business as usual, right? Because what the whole strategy there is to let people fall susceptible to either one of two logical fallacies, a type 1 logical fallacy or type 2. Type 1 is where you accept a false premise, and the second one is when you reject a true premise, right? And so I think that's largely what politics is the misleading, right, of a group of people to believe something, so that if you can enrage people, if you can get them emotional about a particular topic, we've said it on the show before, if you can control how a person feels, you can control how they vote.
Right.
And that's all that counts. So that pamphlet is there just to instill some level of rage.
It's just lies.
Yeah.
And it's like, call me naive, you know? I understand.
Right,
I respect that. Yeah, I'm naive, and I am, and I'm aware of it. But I don't know. I come from a place where you just demonstrated what the standard should be with Jessica Lynch. And, you know, that's a person who should be in politics. That's a person who should represent the people, not these other clowns. And I'm just tired of it. I guess that's what it is. You know what else I'm tired of is Dan Bongino had some things to say today. And all the Iran war experts are now bullet fragment experts. If you did not see this, the Daily Mail, the rag of the newspaper Daily Mail, an internet site, said that the FBI has come back that the 30-06 round that entered and killed Charlie Kirk could not be identified ballistically to the 30-06 that Tyler Robinson, whatever his name is, Robinson, yeah, used against Charlie Kirk. And I'm here to tell you, folks, is that no, I am not a forensic expert, and I have absolutely no degree in such, but I will tell you what happens to a round when it hits human bone and spinal column and neck and cartilage, and is it breaks apart. And this is not uncommon that ballistically that round would be unidentifiable based upon the damage that the round had, which also leads you to understand that it didn't have an exit wound, which solidifies the story. You can't have it both ways, folks. You can't sit here and say there was no exit wound, then openly admit it's unidentifiable because it broke apart. If you're upset about either one or take the position of either one, you are literally ignoring evidence. So now this even confirms more. The defense is going to try to use this, but this is just a bunch of mumbo jumbo. They have the DNA on the casing, DNA on the rifle. They've got a plethora of evidence against this guy. And if there was if there was a ballistic match, it means that the round would have exited Charlie Kirk and been lodged somewhere in the ground or a wall and hopefully maintained its overall integrity, and then ballistically they would have matched it to the rifle. This is a nothing burger. Here's Dan Bongino, and then listen to Leeroy and I's thoughts on this. Watch this.
Here's the Daily Mail headline from last night.
Ernest King says, release the files. What files? I don't know what you're talking about.
I mean, again, one of the most disgusting things I've seen in a long time. There is a trial going on. Bullet used to kill Charlie Kirk, quote, did not in all caps, appealing again to the lowest common denominator, did not match rifle allegedly used by suspect Tyler Robinson. New court filing claims. Really? Because when you actually read Melissa Koenig, who is a disgrace to humankind, I cannot believe this person is actually employed by an outlet even pretending to be a journalistic endeavor. That this was not only allowed to pass by a headline editor, but put out there, keep this up, guys, this is going to be important, is an absolute abomination. Number one, the headline of the piece, which is clearly rage bait and clickbait, is completely inaccurate and is debunked by Melissa Koenig, this absolute imbecile, her own piece. So the bullet used did not match the rifle allegedly used by suspect Tyler Robinson. Here they write in a piece, the bullet that killed conservative commentator Charlie Kirk may not match the rifle, used by Tyler Robinson. Well, that's interesting. Now it's may not. I thought it said did not. Guys, are you reading the same thing I'm reading, Justin? The title says did not, right? But then the first line says it may not. Are you reading it? I mean, fellas, ladies in the audience, you reading the same thing? Because I'm sure the Candace fans are in here now. It didn't matter. But that says may. It gets even worse, of course, in the piece. So now they changed the headline for the moron class. But his defense attorneys, talking about Mr. Robinson, who's, by the way, entitled to a vigorous defense, not faulting the defense attorneys at all. Everyone's entitled to a vigorous defense. And everyone in our court of law has to be proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. Period. Thank the Lord for that. His defense attorneys now argue that the ATF was, quote, unable to identify the bullet recovered at the autopsy to the rifle allegedly tied to Mr. Robinson. So now it gets even worse. Now they're not only saying may not, now they're saying it couldn't match at all because the bullet basically was fragmented, correct?
Right.
So that's like saying, I was talking to Jasmine about this morning. If you're going to put a headline like this up, by the way, because Mr. Robinson is entitled to a fair trial in a court of law to be judged by a jury of his peers. The state is also entitled to a case free of intimidation of jurors, attempts to tamper with the jury pool. The fair trial works both ways, folks. But I said to Jasmine this morning, this is the most disingenuous, disgusting headline I've ever seen. It's like you're at a baseball game, whatever. You're at a New York Yankees game, Jasmine. I was telling her this morning, and you get mugged, God forbid, outside the stadium with 30,000 people piling out. And the cop asks you, hey, do you see the guy? Can you identify him? And because there's so many people out there, the crowd's fragmented, you can't see the guy. You go, no. Jasmine did not identify the person. That's different than what they're implying in the headline, that they catch the suspect, bring the suspect up to Jasmine, because they had him over here. Jasmine, is this the guy? And Jasmine says, no, that's not the guy. That's not match. They're two completely separate things. They're not even close. The Daily Mail must know this. This Melissa Koenig may not be intelligent. I don't know her, but she can't be that dumb.
I don't know.
She got your clicks. That's all that matters, man. Young man murdered on camera. He's got kids and a wife. Whatever. You got.
That's all this is. It's just clickbait. It's just you
Awesome
know the people who know better are going to say something, and the people who don't are going to say something, and that's what this is. That's just the way it is. There's nothing about this that is reporting that is designed to do anything but create outrage for clicks.
It's misleading, and it's intended to be misleading, because this person who wrote that article, Melissa, whatever the hell her name was, right? If the idea is that there are two different ways to type a round, a cartridge to a weapon, one of them being ballistically, the other one might have to be, in the case of something that fragments, might have to be metallurgical. And if it's a metallurgical match but not a ballistics match, does that disqualify the round from being matched to the weapon? And if that person can't tell you what the answer is, then they probably shouldn't have been writing that article. They're not experts. But what's happened is you have these people who, they'll just hang. It was right in the opening line. You had the title that says did not match. And then the first sentence of the article says it may not match. Well, wait, which one is it? If you're writing an article that's intended to be deceptive like that, and your audience doesn't pick up on it, and maybe they deserve to be misled. I don't know.
Well, the whole point of this is to create dissension and to piggyback off of the internet conspiracy theories that Tyler Robinson is not the shooter. Now,
right.
I want people to understand something. Is you don't have any evidence of that. There's no empirical data. There's no exculpatory evidence that Tyler Robinson isn't the person, except for his presumption of innocence. And he does have the right, and he is endowed with an inalienable right of innocence based upon the 4th and 5th Amendment. But that doesn't mean that an active case should not move forward just because of presumption of innocence. They're antithetical to each other. In fact, it behooves Tyler Robinson to prove his innocence in a court of law once he is accused. That is the difference. But once he is accused, it is up to him to defend himself, of course. But it's not up to him to prove his innocence. It's up to the prosecution.
Right, to prove guilt.
To prove guilt.
Yes.
This is the difference. So, is Tyler Robinson innocent? Well, until he's proven guilty, he is. But that doesn't mean that I don't get to pass judgment. It doesn't mean that other people don't get to look at the evidence and say, this is pretty damning. And as of this moment, it is extremely damning based upon the information that we have publicly. The things that I have heard privately is that at this point, they've got their guy. Now, here is another video of Andrew Wilson going after a guy named Zach Costrello, who is a Candace clone. And Candace is... once again, and we're going to show you how Candace is completely crazy as a shithouse rat. But this is Andrew Wilson, who's on my page, and I'm on his page, that these people are, in fact, doing this for the clicks, doing this for the money. Watch this, and watch how Andrew dissects Mr. Costrello, who is a Candace mockingbird.
Sorry. What's the evidence that Tyler Robinson didn't kill Charlie Kirk? What is it?
I think he just swallowed his tongue.
Uh-oh.
So the evidence that Tyler Robinson did not kill Charlie Kirk.
Yeah.
People would argue that.
I'm asking for your argument, not people's.
Yeah. People would say the 30-06 not having an exit wound would be one of the main sources of evidence that Tyler Robinson did not take the shot with that specific weapon.
Absolutely 100% is BS. I can talk about another high-profile assassination that took place with the same weapon, almost in the exact same area, that performed exactly the same way. You might say, geez, Matt, is that Dan Smith who was shot? No, you may have heard of the person. It's called Martin Luther King, who was shot almost identically in the same way, and the round reacted the same way too. The only difference is it hit his jawbone, and people are like, the jawbone's tougher than the spinal column. You're wrong. You're absolutely wrong. Because if you ask anyone, firing through a human spine is not similar to the jawbone. They are both very dense and very, very strong, but they reacted almost identical. So that whole entire argument is crap.
But that's not a claim that necessarily I'm not going to hinge this entire my entire opinion on that specific point. Is it unlikely?
Okay, great.
that-
Okay, hang on. Great. Okay, so you're saying you're not even sure about that. So what would be the compelling evidence that you would be using that would compel you past the state's evidence to say that the state would be incorrect about Tyler Robinson having pulled the trigger on Charlie Kirk? What? What specific things? What?
The specific things that would look, I believe and I think that it's very likely that Tyler Robinson could have killed Charlie Kirk. I'm not necessarily making the argument that he did not. My main concern, but Andrew, my main concern is that this is bigger than just Tyler Robinson. That is my main concern.
What does that mean?
If Tyler Robinson did take the shot, and I say if he did, because it's innocent until proven guilty, then this.
But just because somebody's innocent until proven guilty does not mean that we do not look at the preponderance of evidence and say, oh yeah, this doesn't look good. Or do we say, well, this doesn't feel right. We went to war with Iran. Charlie Kirk was against the war with Iran. Therefore, the Jews killed him. That's not how you make connection. What you're doing is that you have some predetermined notions of what took place. It doesn't make sense to you, and you can't possibly stand that some tranny shot Charlie Kirk, and there has to be some grand conspiracy. Why? Why does there have to be some grand conspiracy? Why can't it be just as simple as that, is that Charlie Kirk single-handedly won President Trump the election, and this crazy-ass person wanted to murder Charlie Kirk, knowing the damage it would have, and look at what it's done.
Oh, my God, right? You know, no matter who you're talking about, whether or not we're talking about Candace Owens, Andrew, what's his name? Andrew Wilson, Zach Costello, or people like Dan Bongino, there's a disconnect there, and what it looks like is when this whole thing first occurred, right? Who do we have coming in? Anonymous donation donated $29.90, says, great guest tonight. Thanks for hosting, Leeroy and Matt. Thank you, Anonymous. When this whole thing first happened, and it was all over CNN and Fox, and we got to see the video of Charlie Kirk, and we see the videos of presumably Tyler Robinson jumping off a building, and that whole string of evidence. Media has kind of helped us inform some level of our opinion of things, right? But we're watching that kind of thing happen real time, and then what has to happen after that? Well, the prosecution now has to prepare a case. He has to gather evidence, and he has to interview people. He has to, go through the process, the legal process, which takes time. And in between, when we see things happen real time, and when that prosecution is ready to pitch their case and say, Your Honor, people of the court, I'm going to prove to you beyond a shadow of a doubt that Tyler Robinson is guilty of murdering Charlie Kirk. Now, that time gap that's in there, that's where we're at right now. And none of us are on the prosecution staff. We don't know. So all of this conjecture and speculation, and the people like this who, Zach Costello, who claims to have an opinion, it's my opinion there, Mr. Wilson. This is what I think, Mr. No, you're not dealing with facts. Very few of us are. All that we have is what we saw on TV, right? And the few bits and pieces that have showed up in the news since then. Really, honestly.
People are like, well, he's never hunted before. You don't know that.
How do you know that?
What do you mean? How do you know? How do you know that? And second, why would you need to be a hunter? You guys, I can take a 30-06 at that range, take my son out to the field in 2 hours, and I can teach him how to zero ring that. What are you talking about? This wasn't why do people think this was a tough shot? I don't understand why everyone thinks this was difficult. Can you go out and make a 2-pointer? Can you go throw a basket in from the paint? Yes. How many out of 10 times, how many times can you make it underneath the rim? That's how difficult this shot was. You don't have to be like, well, he's not an NBA player. There's no way he could have made that shot. This guy's he's not an assassin. There's no way he could have made that shot. Folks, it's a drop in the bucket. It's a drop in the bucket. The only thing
it's a drop in the bucket.
For an amateur, yes. Yes. And the thing you guys need to understand, that the one that frustrates me the most is the only thing it takes to kill somebody is the will to do it. That's it. Kennedy said it best. The only thing that it takes to kill a sitting president is somebody who wants to exchange their life for mine. Here's the rest of it. This
is a kid who was radicalized very quickly within 6 months leading up to the assassination.
Yeah, that's very, very, very common with transgender shooters.
Yes.
It came out immediately in the media by mainstream media figures that there were foreign links to potentially the SLC armed queers group that had chatter about the assassination prior to. To me, that's very solid evidence that has come out in mainstream media sources that this is bigger than just Tyler Robinson, and he was not just a lone actor in this assassination case.
Why?
I align very much so with Joe Kent, who, obviously served.
Hang on. You were saying all of this before there was ever a Joe Kent saying anything.
No, I know, but ultimately Joe Kent has now come out and almost verified many of the concerns that I've had, especially with regard to this assassination.
Okay, what do you think that Joe Kent verified?
That there are potential links to this being bigger than just Tyler Robinson, that the lone wolf narrative is not true.
That's not what Joe Kent said.
No,
he said that there are leads that could potentially lead
could potential, maybe, not sure.
Is a wide
that he
open
thinks should be pursued.
Right.
Yeah, but that's not evidence of anything. Nothing.
You're right. It's not evidence.
It's not evidence of anything. It's just so Joe Kent's entire narrative is that the investigation was turned over to Utah. That was it. And Utah thought it was pretty open and shut. That was basically what he said. They thought it was open and shut. If the state thought it was open and shut, why? Because they had the weapon, they had the suspect, they had all the text, they had the fingerprint on the rifle, they had
DNA
everything
evidence
that you could ever want, and then some. So they said, well, the case, it's like finding a person standing over the body with the knife and the blood and the fingerprints on the knife. And that's how the state sees it. So you can endlessly investigate something, I suppose, but why? What are we investigating here?
Right.
What is it that you think should be investigated? You say there's foreign links, but Joe Kent never named what those foreign links are. Right? He was told to stop wasting taxpayer resources by trying to pursue that because there was no reason to pursue that. Joe Kent also is a guy who he's only been with the Trump administration for less than a year, I believe, before all of this happened. Okay. He was, essentially the guy is a decorated war veteran. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. And I understand him going with his conscience when it came to the Iran war. But he did not give you any new evidence to support any of your theories here. Nothing.
He didn't necessarily give any evidence, but what he encouraged was the idea that, again, that the concerns that many of us have are in fact legitimate.
Well, no, that's a lie. Like, you're just lying. He didn't actually give any evidence which would show that your concerns are legitimate. That's literally not true. I don't even know why you would say that. It is actually factually not true that Joe Kent gave any evidence
that he expressed his own
hang
concerns.
On. Let me make the point.
Okay.
It is not, in fact, the case that Joe Kent validated any concerns of yours or Candace's or Ian Carroll's with evidence of any kind whatsoever. So where's the validation? That he just feels this way? That's the validation. I just feel that way. Is that the validation, dude?
No, he said in the interview with Mark Levin that there is evidence that he was not able to share because it was classified.
Oh, well, that's really convenient. But
yeah, isn't that nice?
So no evidence then, again.
Why? I guess.
Oh, hang on. I just want to make sure I got this right. So you're saying no evidence, right? That's what you're actually saying?
No, I'm not saying.
Okay, so what's the evidence? What's the evidence that he
have
gave?
Access to? I'm saying there's no evidence that we have access to.
Then you don't have evidence.
Well, okay. Neither do you. You don't have any evidence that.
Yeah, well, no, I do.
But that's not the way this works.
The evidence that the state has
right
released
now,
thus
actually.
far.
Okay.
You have a counter.
This is the typical frickin' claim of people who have no leg to stand on, who are basing everything on motions and not fact, is you can't disprove what I said. Well, I can sit here and say that with theoretical physics, I can tie an elephant off of a cliff, its tail to a daisy, and it will be supported and will not fall. But anybody with basic common sense and a pair of eyes can look at that and say, no way in hell is that little flower going to hold up that elephant. And you could say, aha, but you don't have an elephant, you don't have its tail, and it's not tied to a daisy. You can't show me that. Oh, but I can get a bowling ball and a piece of fishing line, which weighs 1/1000th of an elephant, and show you. Yeah, but that's not the same thing because you won't show me the elephant and the daisy. You can make up anything you want, and there's no way I can disprove it. But that's not the argument. The argument is we have quantifiable facts and evidence of what is being said and what the prosecution is presenting, and you can't disprove it. Therefore, you make something up and say, aha, you're now in my situation. You can't disprove it either. Therefore, that fallacy argument proves that I'm right. No, it doesn't. It proves that you're an idiot. Leeroy?
In the wake of every high-profile shooting/assassination, be it JFK, be it Reagan, MLK, or Lincoln,
right.
Every one of them, they all have some percentage of people who will buy into the conspiracy theory and say, no, you're chasing 90% of us are going down the wrong rabbit hole. I, along with my 2% of the population, know that we never landed on the moon and that there is the shooter on the grassy knoll kind of thing. And if that's Zach Costello's defense, no offense, but that's not going to save him. Because when you get in front of 12 of your peers and you have to and you know the prosecution is going to make that case, prove some level of guilt, right? If you can't stand up and make a logical argument at that point and kind of put all your conspiracy shit to the side, then I'm sorry, man. Your 12 peers are going to hang that guy.
That's right.
And rightfully so.
Absolutely.
Sorry. What's the evidence of Tyler Roberts?
So now
evidence.
It's not evidence. Well, and that's the thing is just because you're convinced doesn't make it evidentiary. It means that it confirmed your bias, and it means that you're not looking for evidence, you're looking for confirmation. There's a very big difference between the two. Do you know how easy it is for me, but when I see something and I'm like, oh my God, I said this 6 months ago, and it validates what I've said, I'm like, oh my God, I get to go and brag about how right I was. Do you know how many times I have to stop and I have to look and go, oh, wait a second, never mind. This is just confirming the bias that I have. This isn't fact. Am I saying that there was no one else involved? There was no payroll, that he wasn't influenced by a jilted lover, that Israel didn't have some conspiracy? But no, I'm not saying any of those things. What I'm saying is that I can sit here and make up 1,000 things and not one of them will be true. That's what I'm saying. But what we do know is Charlie Kirk's dead. We do know he was shot that day. We do know it was by a high-powered rifle. We do have the understanding basically from an acoustic perspective and a trajectory perspective of where it came from. We do have video evidence of somebody up on that area. We do have somebody jumping off. We do have a rifle that was placed down. We do have the breakdown of that rifle. We do have text messages. We have DNA evidence. We have DNA on the screwdriver, DNA on the actual rifle itself, DNA on the brass. And we have someone, can at least we forget, someone who openly turned themselves in and said, I'm guilty, I did it, I just don't want to be manhandled and I don't want to be thrown to the ground and handcuffed. Can I turn myself in, please? Remember that guy? Remember that guy? Can we slow down? Let's not say anything. Let's wait. Let's let that wash over the general public. The guy who admitted he murdered Charlie Kirk. He admitted it. Okay, now you can say something. Go ahead.
When we get done with this, I want everyone exiting the show to all of the dummies, everyone that we have watching, to look up the term type 1 and type 2 logical error. And there's this really great meme out there with the type 1 error with this doctor sitting down with this old man and he's saying, you're pregnant. And then the type 2 error says, you're not pregnant. And it's clearly to a pregnant woman. This is exactly, we've been talking about this for, I can't tell you how long. Each and every show we touch on the subject of people who are willing to take false facts in, i.e. conspiracy theories, and shut out the hard evidence that is right in front of them, right? And that's the type 1 error. And it just baffles my mind how many, we talked about it with Dan Bongino, that whole thing with the bullet may not be from, all right, now this falls into that same trap. Each and every media story, there's some element of that. And I want every one of the dummies watching to try and tune into that. It's a fascinating world when you do that.
How about we just say this? You want it to be the Jews. How about we stop saying it's the Jews? And, people are like, well, there's a lot of, no, you want it to be. You want it to be a conspiracy. You want it to be Erica Kirk. You want it to be TPUSA. You want it to be a B cult. You want it to be the Jews. You want it to be the freaking Qatarians. That's what you want. But that doesn't mean that's what it is. Here is a video. You know what? Just some things that we put together. How about Candace Owens? She is grifting so hard off of y'all. And she is milking you to the bank. Milking you to the bank. If you still watch her, enjoy this.
She's gross.
Here's Candace Owens, and here's how many days. We are closer than ever before, folks. This is what she says all the time. Enjoy this.
We are definitively getting closer to what took place on that.
Folks, October 1st, 2025 is when this began. I need some help, folks. We are $99 away from goal. We had an amazing show. We turn off goals during interview, and we don't put those in. We need to make that up. I thought we had a lot more than we did, but we're 99 short. We have 2 minutes and 48 seconds to meet it. It sure would help. We are in emergency mode. Need some help from you. If you like the shows, consider us like PBS and Sesame Street. If you like the way this goes, you guys are the source for this. It's publicly funded. We don't have the government helping us. We don't have the DNC or RNC, and we certainly don't make schmeckles from the Jews who are giving us $7,000 every time we say something nice about Israel or Qatar, like some people we know. Maybe you can help us out. Watch this.
Day, and we are getting closer. I think we're close. We are definitively getting closer. We're getting close. We're getting low. Very close. We're inching ever closer. We are now, I believe, extremely close to solving this thing. I've got a feeling about that. We're close. We're getting closer to something, and that something is pretty big. I just sense that we're getting close. I sense that we are getting very close, and we are getting closer. We're getting very close to something. We're getting closer because we are getting close. We are definitely getting closer. Very close. We are very close. We are close. We are dangerously close to something. We are dead close to something.
I want you to watch the emphatic head shake. Subliminal messaging, folks. Pantomimes are what they're called. And Leeroy and I know them very, very well because we had to sit across from people and figured out when they were lying to us. Women are a lot more complex. They have more pantomimes than men. Women have a lot more. Men have less. But one of them is when you're saying something and you're doing this, it means that subconsciously you're saying, I'm full of shit. I don't believe what I'm saying. And it is one of the biggest tells. There's about 7 of them that are dead giveaways, and she is effing horrible. My 13-year-old is a better liar than her. Watch her head.
We are definitively getting closer. We are getting closer. We're getting very close to something. We're getting closer because we are getting close. We are definitely getting closer. Very close. We are very close. We are close. We are dangerously close to something. We are dead close to something. And I think every day we are inching closer to who killed Charlie Kirk. You know we're getting close. We're inching ever closer. We are inching closer, a little closer to solving
Look at the aversion of the eyes.
Murder. And I'm getting very close. And we are getting very close. But I'm getting closer. I'm getting real close. My prayers are with you, Candace. You are close. We are close. And we're getting closer to the truth. We get closer. We are getting close.
She is no closer.
She's not good at this.
No, she's horrible at this. And then she also can't say burial. This is I played this for 3 seconds, and Leeroy's like, she can't say burial. I'm like, oh my god. Here you go. Watch this.
What about his burial? How come we haven't seen anything about his burial? We saw so much, and then we saw nothing.
Yeah, the same reason Osama bin Laden. We buried him at sea because we didn't want you to see the body, or we didn't want martyrs making a freaking Mecca shrine to him and doing a pilgrimage to Osama bin Laden. And what we didn't want is people pissing or shitting or spray painting on Charlie Kirk's grave because liberals are nuts. That's why. But here's Oliver backpedals. Watch this. This is how it starts. And here's the rewrite from Candace.
And the reason that's like a big hush-hush secret is because Charlie had a Catholic funeral mass, and he is buried in a Catholic cemetery.
But pre the meeting with Erica, you repeatedly questioned why we weren't being told where Charlie Kirk is buried, or even if he has been buried yet. Did you get those answers?
You have the wrong commentator who questioned that. I think that was Milo Yiannopoulos.
You've never asked where Charlie's buried?
Nope. But if this were on the left and somebody were accusing Charlie Kirk of his wife having murdered him, I assume that you would be talking about it.
Is that what Candace is accusing Erica of?
Yes.
Of murdering her own husband?
She's accusing TPUSA insiders and other members of the right wing, including Seth Dillon, of being involved in the murder of Charlie Kirk. Yes.
It's just, I don't even know how to respond to it because it just never happened. Realizing that nothing in Charlie's life was real. It's just something that keeps me up at night. Just nothing in his life was real. The assassination of Charlie Kirk was something akin to a regicide, right? The assassination of a king to install a new ruler who the king would have never approved of. It's
Mr. Holiday, Candace is getting closer to tweaking out for good. You know we're getting closer. She is. She's gonna break as soon as they pull the rug out from underneath her, which will be soon. They won't let her stay in this position. She can't. She's not good for advertisers. She's inconsistent. She's too volatile. Nobody is going to keep her in this position. She will crash and burn, and when she does, she'll get addicted to drugs, suicide, something. This is who she is. She's bipolar manic disorder. She is my mother. I promise you this, when she can't get the attention from her podcast and from people who abandon her, she will get it any way she possibly can. I'm telling you, I predicted this. Watch. It will happen. She will fade and burn out.
so crazy.
She has accused us of lying about Charlie.
Say again?
What if she has to get famous again like Octomom?
Well, that's what I'm saying. She'll either hurt herself or hurt somebody else. Probably her husband. Here's the rest.
Seen Erica to take over for him if he died.
Never happened. And it just so happened that Charlie Kirk kept notebooks and diaries. He was so diligent that he wrote down his succession plan featuring who he wanted to take over for the organization in the event of his untimely death. Like, you know, he just, in the third notebook, he was like, oh, and if I accidentally get shot on campus, here's what you should do. Call Erica. And then after you call Erica, come find this notebook. And if during this process of our imagination, common sense comes on and we're like, oh, but wait, Charlie, wasn't he like a boy genius? He's a pretty bright kid. Wouldn't he have maybe formalized that succession plan outside of like a diary? But no, he wanted to put it in these notebooks. And then the plan was to guilt us, I think, to try to haunt us with the ghost of Charlie's notebooks that we're never going to be allowed to read, but we're supposed to accept that they most definitely read. Like, for sure. What? Never happened. I knew it was big. I didn't have the players. I certainly didn't suspect Turning Point USA would be, as I believe, involved in a cover-up. And we can talk about what the motives are of that. They could be financial motives. It doesn't necessarily mean they were involved in plotting to kill him. And I've never said that. Cam Higbee is on the payroll of Turning Point USA beginning in August of this year. So in theory, Cam Higbee, who was laughing off the idea of an assassination attempt, is being paid by the very organization that just had its leader assassinated in broad daylight in front of the entire world. It doesn't necessarily mean they were involved in plotting to kill him. And I've never said that. Because I was in this aggrieved stage, and I really didn't poke my head up until weeks later when I could stop crying about it every second. Charlie Kirk, my friend, is dead. First, this is fantastic that Preborn is doing this. To remind you guys about Pure Talk. Also reminding you guys about American Financing. Also reminding you guys about GNO Land. Also telling you guys about Just Thrive. You can head over to our website, CandaceOwens.com. You can sign up, buy yourself a hat. I'm not going to stop unless Erica Kirk asks me to stop.
We were told that if we said stop, they would stop. And we said stop. And I'll say it again. Please stop.
Please stop. Please stop lying. But as soon as she tells me what it is I've lied about, I will cease lying.
Luann Felsky, $25. Thank you, Luann. 256.
Luann?
44 away. Thank you, Luann.
Immediately.
Never stopped. It's never going to stop. And the reason why, besides this, I'm going to say one thing. Leeroy's going to finish it up. The reason why you won't stop is because it's your cash flow.
Absolutely.
If you stop talking about the Jews and you stop talking about Charlie Kirk, what is your show about? Are you going to go back to Megyn Kelly talking about fashion advice? Are you going to go talk about Hollywood celebs? Are you going to go ahead and talk about what? Ryan Reynolds and his wife and the struggles that they're having and being sued, because that's what your show is about. There was nothing of substance. If you don't hate Jews and have a Charlie Kirk conspiracy, you don't have a show. This is why you were let go from Ben Shapiro. This is why you were let go from the Daily Wire. This is why you were fired from everywhere, because you are not a Republican. You're not a conservative. You're not MAGA. You are a progressive liberal who railed against Donald Trump in 2015 to 16, doxed anyone who supported Donald Trump, created a site to dox Trump supporters. The only reason why you got where you were is because you were a black woman who was hot, who was a conservative. And that's about as rare as a white buffalo. And you got propelled onto the national stage because you said what white people were afraid to because of the Overton window, that black families are being betrayed by black men as they abandon and impregnate black women, sell drugs on the street, and the father's figure leave, which is destroying the black communities that Democrats are propagating. That's the Overton window, and no white people had the courage to say it. It was Bill Cosby, it was Candace Owens, and it was Don Lemon who would say those things. 3 people, and none of them were white. And that's why you made it onto the conservative scene. And then people realize that you're horrible, that you're evil, and you have been fired from every single business you have because they know you're crazy. You can't possibly stop, because if you do, you lose everything. Leeroy, any thoughts on this crazy woman that we keep having to talk about?
Absolutely. There's this really amazing quote from Eleanor Roosevelt, who said that great minds discuss ideas, average minds discuss events, and small minds discuss people. So when I hear Candace Owens just constantly droning on about either Charlie Kirk, about Tucker, about Megyn Kelly, she's only talking about people. And she is lacking the substance on her own show to talk about the more important things, like socialism, like capitalism, like, abortion or Second Amendment rights. She's missing those key elements. She just wants to talk and belittle people. And maybe that's okay. Maybe that's her. She's found a niche audience of angry liberal white people who just, want to buy into that. That's fine. I get it. It's kind of like Jerry Springer. How did Jerry Springer get so famous? Right? She is the Jerry Springer, but in a weird conspiracy theory kind of echo chamber. And I find her to be completely distasteful and vacuous. Like her show doesn't do anything except talk trash about people, and that's why I never watch it.
We can point out, and remember, this is the argument. Well, you talk trash about Candace. No, because we're talking about substance. We're asking her to demonstrate empirical data and evidence, exculpatory evidence that demonstrates that Tyler Robinson did not kill Charlie Kirk. You can't do that, so don't sit here and say you can. Brenda Shepard donated $10. Is it true that depending if the barrel of a gun is dirty or clean, how the bullet will project? There are many things that will change. There are many things. Yes, barrel, the ammunition, the gunpowder, whether it was actually older ammunition, how far it was, the drop, the dew point, temperature. Everything impacts a shot, but not at that distance.
Breathing.
200 yards. That distance, not much. Not much.
Yeah.
Here's the last couple things that we got to go, because we've got $44 to make goal. Debbie Boggs, 1776. Thanks, Deb. God bless. Great guest tonight. Thank you. I agree. The only thing I will say about Candace Owens, and it's not about making her seem smaller than she is. These people who are pretending to be Donald Trump supporters, pretending to be MAGA, they're not giving you solutions. They're only giving you fictitious problems to be concerned with, things that don't impact you. This is very similar to the Hunter Biden stuff. I tried to tell people, do I want to see justice to Hunter Biden? Yeah, at the state level or federal, but I don't care whether Hunter Biden goes to prison or not, because that doesn't impact me. It doesn't put food on my table. It doesn't lower my taxes. It doesn't stop fentanyl from coming overseas. It doesn't stop Chinese dominance. It doesn't stop our military, lack of productivity from the nuclear deterrence that we have, or at the time where we stood with the morale of our military. None of that matters. But they
because you care about policy.
Right.
You care about policy more than you do about some BS headline that doesn't do anything for you. Don't give a crap whether or not we found a half a pound of Coke in the White House. Does nothing for me. Tell me how you're going to lower my taxes, or what we're going to do to avoid the next war, or how we're going to handle gas prices or interest rates. Those things affect Americans, real Americans. That's how you deal with bread and butter topics. We talk about, those tabletop discussions over dinner. But whether or not somebody was banging somebody in the White House, I don't give a shit.
The dumbification of America, is taking place. And it has nothing to do with the things that you would normally expect to be making us more dumb. For instance, Jerry Springer, Jersey Shore, the Kardashians. These are the things that are blatantly obvious that we consume at a relative small percentage of our daily diet, which don't overall consume our ability for critical thinking. It's the things where we listen for 3 or 4 hours a day to people like Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens and Megyn Kelly, which they are presenting themselves as aficionados of intellect, when really they are the people responsible for dumbifying our country. Steve Bannon, another wonderful example of a person who is demonstrating why the idiocy of America is one of the most profitable things you can do, because smart listeners don't stick around. Smart listeners don't want to hear it. So what do? You create people who are subservient to the idea of something that is unprovable, to the idea that that is the cause for you, what you're going through. And this is a leftist tactic. And the retard right is doing exactly what the Saul Alinsky playbook. Blame everyone else for your problems. Point the finger at the problem that doesn't exist. And if it doesn't exist, create it. This is what they're doing. And they are just as guilty as the far leftists, because this is the same MO. And it's profitable. And both sides of the aisle are doing the exact same thing now.
True that.
There are not enough shows like this one. It's not that we're the best show. There's people who present better. There's people who research better. There's people who are more factual and able to make their points more effectively than me. More me than Leeroy, who is very, very good at it, more than I am in some cases. Well, but at least I said some cases. Don't get a big head.
Thank you.
I said in some cases. Okay. So what?
Boy, I say thank you, and you really just like
listen.
Don't let it go to your head, Bubba.
Special Officer Duty reporting.
So that's what I'm trying to say. Is that they're telling you that this is the answer when all this is more problems on top of the problems that will not go away based on what these people are telling you. It's just simple. A couple of more and then we got to go. Dean Cook. This is good. I'm excited to show people who were being ultimately contributors to the dumbification of the country, and Dean Cook is absolutely one of them. You remember this little pipsqueak. Watch this.
What rights have you lost under Trump?
Well, I mean, I'll tell you the things that I'm scared about doing.
No. Tell me what rights you lost. Don't tell me what you think. Tell me what rights you've lost.
Sure. What do you mean by right?
Under the American Constitution, what rights have you lost in this?
Move them goalposts. When the question is too specific and easy to understand, make it more complicated so you don't have to answer it. This is the tactic of the left. Yeah. Redefine the words. And if you redefine the words, you don't have to answer the question. What do you mean? What do you mean you want? What do you mean by what do I mean by right? Why are you confused? That's the question. Hit him right back.
Country.
Okay. Well, I'm a white man, so I haven't lost any. But
okay,
that would be different. No, I'm going to finish, Ron. I need to finish.
You're race baiting.
No, I'm not. I need to finish my sentence.
You are.
I'm a white man. I have not lost any of my rights. Now, if I were to be a white woman, I would have lost my right to access health care in 36 of our 50
How's
states.
That?
I'll explain later. If I were a black woman, then I would have lost my right to liberty because now DHS is authorized and using somebody's race is an identifiable factor to make a detention for a suspicion of them being an undocumented immigrant. If I was an individual of any...
We have a lot of black immigrants coming over from Kenya. And is that what I'm hearing? We have a big border problem with Africa. I didn't know this. That border just gets so porous from Africa. That ocean is not big enough, folks.
Gender, any sex, any race, born to parents that were undocumented immigrants. No fucking way. I'm going to talk to you about that later. That's crazy. Then I would have literally lost my constitutional right to birthright citizenship after Donald Trump signed Executive Order number 14160 into effect. Or even, if I was a married woman, okay, who didn't have a passport, didn't have the money to get one, and my birth certificate has the last name I was born with, not the one I assumed from my husband, okay, if the SAVE Act were to pass, then I would have temporarily lost my right to vote.
Define woman.
We could talk about these rights all day. I think that the right to freedom of speech is a really big one for people in journalism and media. Donald Trump is directing the FCC to not renew the licenses of people who negatively report on the war in Iran. Okay, that's a First Amendment right.
What does that have to do with your rights?
If I was trans, I would have lost the right to join the military.
You're just mumbling on with bullshit, Dean. What rights?
Paul Rivera donated 2110. Jessica's story was amazing. Great show tonight. Thank you, Paul. Almost done with this.
Have you personally lost since Trump's been elected? Tell me what rights you've lost.
None, because like Trump, I'm a white man.
Thank you. So you're saying that blacks, Hispanics,
black people,
Mexicans, Italians, Polish, they all lost rights in this country. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
And if they did, what rights have they lost?
Yeah, like I told you. Black and brown people predominantly lost.
So they can't walk down the street or they'll be arrested? A black man or a Hispanic?
Actually...
No, you're full of shit and you know it.
Trump literally authorized DHS to use racial profiling for the apparent identification of undocumented immigrants.
You know that's bullshit.
Thomas Austin, $21.10. Thank you, Tommy. Topping it off, my man.
No, it's actually
what rights have any Americans lost?
I'm telling you, then you just called all bullshit.
It is bullshit. You're speaking bullshit and you know it. So
Would
tell
you like
me,
a source?
Under the Constitution of the United States of America.
Leeroy, I have a couple questions for you to help this video. Constitution of the United States of America has been amended how many times?
Oh, God. It's like 28, maybe?
27.
27.
Has been amended. How many? It's very good. You did very good. How many provisional laws have passed at the state level, which has altered the state's constitution, which is in direct contradiction of the federal constitution? Thousands, right? Yeah, thousands. Yeah. Thousands. Great. What is the only way that you can change a right?
Technically, it would take 2/3 of the. Or is it 3/4?
3/4
of the voting body to change that. But the issue is that, like,
no, hold on. Stay with me.
Yeah,
3/4. So not a super majority, but a 3/4 majority, because it's more difficult to alter an amendment than it is to propose a new one. 2/3, 66, in order to go ahead and get it in the Senate, and then the House, which is a 2/3 majority, in order to propose a new amendment. Okay, and to get that codified, but to change an amendment takes 75%. Can you please tell me, in the last 50 years, which amendment has been changed with a 3/4 majority? Take a second. Think about it.
The only thing that I can think of right out of the gate was prohibition.
In the last 50 years?
Was that? No, that wasn't 50 years ago. That was probably more like 100 years ago.
Yeah, we're getting older now.
Yeah. I can't think of one.
1992, 27th Amendment was ratified. It was ratified. So it was proposed in 1789. It sat dormant for 200 years, and then it was ratified in the 27th Amendment. Ratification. And all that covers is congressional pay.
Oh.
It's a congressional pay amendment in the 27th Amendment. So instead of losing rights, we enforce the law with congressional appointees, and that has nothing to do with the American citizen. So in the last 50 years, not one right has been removed at the federal level, which makes everything he just said a lie. Nobody has lost any rights. So that's it. That's the end of the conversation. There is no argument. You're done. Name one in 50 years. I can't name one. Well, then you're wrong. Now, have we made changes with the laws? Have we add additional provisions? Yes. But that is not losing a right.
It's funny when people like that drone on about whatever potential rights they're going to claim that they've lost, but they can never nail down like what real rights are. They'll always revert back to a woman's loss to health care by way of abortion, right? But they'll never say, oh, well, an additional 4 or 5 laws came out this year based off of my right to defend myself. Never that one.
Nope.
It's always, I'm defending somebody else's right, because I think that person over there is oppressed and I'm the good guy.
Correct.
And it baffles. It absolutely staggering. One of my favorite social media people to follow is this lesbian girl on Facebook, and she goes around to all these LGBTQ parades, and she'll ask people what rights have you lost.
Yes.
And it's the best. It is the best. And so if you're ever gonna defend another, another demographic, another marginalized group, go to the person in that group and ask them directly. Because 9 times out of 10, they're going to say, oh, I haven't lost anything.
That's right.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Great night. There is another girl. We're trying to get Amanda. I think her name's Amanda Shaw. She is a, I don't know, Gen Z, but she is hilarious. She's got tattoos, a nose ring, everything, but she is a total conservative. She's hilarious. I've been showing Olivia is working on getting her on the show. I was wrong. Barry has met Ollie North. I just didn't know they had a relationship. So I stand corrected. Barry sent this to me and said, no, Matt, I've met Ollie North. And I said, okay, get him booked on the show and then I will retract my statement. So I do too. He's a great friend. I want to thank Jessica Lynch tonight. I want to thank Jeremy Mitchell. I want to thank Barry and Shelley and everyone who's had a part in this. I want to thank our good friend Lisa Regina, who invited us to the premiere of well, not a premiere, but really their working session to discuss their new show that they're going to do. It's going to be American Heroes episodes based upon valiant veterans, and they are fundraising and in production right now. This is a really cool thing, and we didn't get to attend. Olivia did, though, which is exciting, and so we're going to be watching this. Barry is a producer on the show, and Lisa Regina is a good friend, so we're sorry we couldn't make it, but we were there with spirit. That's all I've got to say. Leeroy, also, everyone, thank you for having us hit gold. Please share and like this. Go over and pick up some coffee, some shirts, whatever you want. There's great stuff over in the show. And then, Leeroy, you get the final closer, buddy.
Thank you to everybody who donated. First of all, you guys are amazing. We literally could not do this show without you. Without you, we'd be nowhere.
Yes!
On top of
that.
No,
wait. Breaking news. Breaking news. I'm sorry, Leeroy. I'm sorry. Scott Lloyd, 19-5. They won. They are going to redo the election in Front Royal. This is the story that we did. We had Scott Lloyd. They just won. I told him to keep us. 19-5, unanimously agreed to redo the election between Scott Lloyd and David Sillick, whatever. These are the people who called our show. Yes, they called we did a huge show on this. I'm sorry. They called our show. George Klein threatened us, was making innuendo, had threatened listeners. The sheriff is corrupt. The whole fuckers are all corrupt. Scott Lloyd gets to do it again, and they're going to vote this time, and we're going to do everything we can to make this the biggest turnout. I will bust people there if I have to, but we get to redo this election, which is amazing. I am so sorry to interrupt you, buddy, but this is big news. Go ahead. Sorry.
You're good. My thank you to everybody who donated. You guys are amazing. Again, we could not do this show without you. Thank you to Barry Morgenstein. You've been a great friend of the show. Chris Peranto, amazing. Jessica Lynch, thank you so much. Thank you to Still Point for supplying our amazing opening music. You guys are awesome. Thank you to Matt, and thank you to everyone who watches.
Sorry, I get a little excited, dude. It's important
Obviously.
because
Hide your erection.
Dude, this is huge, man. I mean, we cracked a lot. I mean, we've put thousands of eyes on this too. Yeah. And we worked with, I don't even know if you knew this happened. We worked with Breitbart, and we worked with people who were writing the articles, and we had Scott Lloyd on. He came to the studio, and just the amount of support we saw for this is just a huge win. It's just nice to see 19-5. That is an ass whooping. And I truly believe that after this election, they redo this election, Scott Lloyd will actually win the RNC seat for Front Royal. Leeroy, sorry to interrupt. I'm excited. I forgot about it, and Scott just texted and let me know, and I'm really excited. So thank you, everybody, for watching. Leeroy, thank you for being here tonight. We'll see you guys tomorrow night on Wednesday with Olivia and I back in studio. Leeroy, have a good night, my friend. Thank you for tonight, buddy.
Love you guys. Take care.
I'm going to stick around for a quick second. I appreciate you, Leeroy. I wanted to say thank you, everybody. The change can happen, and good things happen when you stand up for yourself, when you have belief in yourself. And I think it's amazing how many people showed up and made a stink about this. And the people in Front Royal, you deserve what you got. You deserve what you got. Now you have to get out there and vote. And if there were 500 people there needs to be 1,000. We can't allow these people to cheat. They weren't Republicans. They're not Republicans. They're Democrats. We know how they reacted to Scott. If they were true conservatives, they would have put out their hand and wished Scott the best of luck. Instead, they went after his character. They tried to tear him down. And we're exposing these people. We're going to continue to do this. Matt Pretty, Olivia, who wrote the article over at Breitbart, Scott himself, and everybody who called in and exposed George Klein. We still have audio messages of him threatening. I think people need to go after this guy. I think they need to recall her. I think they need to get that sheriff out of there because her husband's a thug and they deserve to lose. Let's keep it going, folks. Thanks for watching. We'll see you Wednesday night. We'll talk to you soon.
Adjusting transmitter output.
This is the Don't Unfriend Me Show with your hosts, Matt, Leeroy, Amy, and Olivia. Geopolitics, military analysis, and election coverage. Coming to you live on all major social media channels at The Dumb Show. Honest, direct, unfiltered. We can agree, we can disagree. Just don't unfriend me.